Excellent. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Shepard, Chair of the Townsend Planning Board. I call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to have a roll call of all the board members present, so please say your name for the record.
Cindy King is present.
Carol Hoffs present.
Brett King present.
Herbert Therian present.
And Andrew Shepard present. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to thank all of our veterans, those who are currently serving here and abroad, their families, and those who contribute their time to public service. I believe we owe them our gratitude. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Town of Townsend YouTube channel. And let's jump in. Let's see, 1.4. As part of our annual organization, we need to appoint a planning board member to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission and the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee. Cindy, I know you tried and weren't able to make it.
I had a conflict because my other meeting went over, so I wasn't able to attend last week. But I am interested in, if the board agrees, I'm interested in appointment to both committees.
I'll nominate.
I think we have, now Beth, you're a member of the transportation?
I'm the planning board rep to MJTC, which is a transportation,
Committee. Okay. I mean, I guess what does the board think? I have no issue with Beth on the MJTC.
No.
And wouldn't mind her continuing.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind if she wants to continue. I was thinking that you didn't, so.
Do you have any interest, Robert? It's, there's a lot going on. I think Andrew would be great as well if you have any interest in it. It's a 2:30 virtual meeting, once a month. It's not a big, commitment, but there's a lot going on and there's a lot of things, that Townsend really should have a seat at that table.
I don't believe I have the time in the middle of the day. Fair enough. Is anybody else, Brett, or?
I know 2:30 is not a good time for me because I'm in school line picking up kids at school.
Sure.
We're working during the day.
So I guess Beth, are you interested in continuing on the MJTC Transportation Committee?
I can do it. I just have a lot of other things to be doing. I can do the meetings.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because I mean, with Cindy also being interested in both and willing to do both.
I don't want to take it away from anybody, but.
Oh, no.
But I'm willing to do both.
Member, really. It's better to have a planning board member seated there. Would you want to be on the MRPC or the MJTC or both?
Both.
Excellent.
I'm willing to do both.
Perfect.
Great.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I don't have any issues with that. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Cindy King as a representative to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission and the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee.
I make the motion that we appoint Cindy to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission and the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Excellent. I'd like to do a roll call vote. All the board members present.
Robert Therian, yes.
Go reverse clockwise.
Brett King, yes.
Carol Hoffs, yes.
Can I vote on myself?
I think you could.
Why not?
I do.
Okay, yeah, Cindy King, yes.
That means you accept.
I'll accept, yes.
Sure. Andrew Shepard, yes. So, thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. So we've got 1 minute until the 6:30. Did anybody have any comment? I mean, 1.5 on the planning board meeting minutes on 5-4. I don't know if I saw those.
I read them.
They weren't done.
Okay.
They weren't drafted yet.
Okay.
Shoot, thought I missed something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, in that case, we are at 6:35. I will be recusing myself, so we'll turn it over to Carol. And I'll be.
I didn't know you were accusing yourself from 2.
Yes. So just come get me when you get a chance.
This is for Good evening, I'm Carol Hoffs, Vice Chair of the Planning Board, and I'd like to call Where did it come? Is Lance here? Wait, do we need Lance? We don't need Lance.
No.
So I'd like to reopen the public hearing for 22 West Meadow Road. Modification of site plan approval, large scale ground mounted solar installation. And can we introduce the board members?
Cindy King, quick.
Rick King, present.
Robert Thery, present.
Okay. And there's a public sign-in sheet circulating, if everyone can sign that. Do I need to read the, legal notice?
You don't have to read it again.
I don't have to read it again? Okay. Okay, so the applicant is here for 22 Cedar Road. No, sorry, 22 West Meadow Road. And, you wanna go ahead and do your presentation?
Sure. Madam Chair? My name is Greg Roy with Dilson Roy. I'm representing the owner, the landowner tonight. I just wanted to let you know that.
As
Okay,
a consultant to the owner,
Yes,
and what firm?
Dilson Roy.
okay. We're doing what's the solar array. Yeah.
My name is Palmer Moore. I'm with the company that installed the solar array online. Is Skip Provost, my colleague. So we've been involved with the project for a number of years. I was here with the planning board about, 6 or 7 years ago when we originally brought this project before the town. And, I think everyone here has the backstory here, but we're trying to work with the landowner and the town to come up with a solution that addresses a number of objectives, primarily being satisfying the town bylaw requirements for screening the project, but also obviously seeking to maximize the property's primary use as an agricultural operation. So we have proposed a modification, which I circulated to Ms. Faxon before the end of last week, to reduce the vegetative screening to still accomplish the goal as noted in the letter from 519 Main Street of addressing that view shed corridor as you look across West Meadow Road, but also acknowledging the fact that I think there's been general consensus from the town that the project is well sited. It doesn't need to reestablish the entire planting schedule that was originally approved as long as they can satisfy the bylaw. And so that's what we provided in our latest submission last week, and we'd love to discuss that today with the town.
So I just have a question. So I'm assuming this is the fence line where the solar array is, and those are the plantings
Correct.
that you're proposing, that are planted rather than out on the street. You're gonna do it along the fence line.
That's right. Yeah.
So, Right, do I let everybody speak if anybody has any questions? So, board members, do you have any questions of the applicant? As far as the screening goes, there was a problem, originally the screening was along the roadway.
Okay.
I believe the bylaw says that it could be done around the fence line. If I read the bylaw correctly, it could be along the fence line.
And where is the fence line?
So right now, had you ever been out there?
Yes,
Okay, so you have an idea of the road here,
right.
and then there is a perimeter fence all along the array. So the new proposal, instead of keep putting
Where you're
vegetation
pointing now, is that the fence line?
right here. This is the new
The
vegetation.
original fence line?
No,
No. The vegetation originally was on the roadway.
on the roadway.
Well, you said the bylaw said it's supposed to be on the fence line.
Well, it says it can be along the fence line.
Oh, it can be along, oh, okay. Okay, all right, now I understand. I thought it was, all right. So,
So now because there was issues with the vegetation along the roadway
right,
being removed and different things, so now they're proposing to put it along the fence line as a screen.
okay.
Did you see the map? Brett?
I did, I saw it in the portal, yeah, I got it.
Can I ask you,
Yes, you can, sir.
to present to the public what was original and what's being proposed now, so there's a clear understanding?
You can ask, but I don't know the answer to that question,
Oh,
because that wasn't, my firm wasn't involved in the original application.
Then can you address that for us, please?
Sure, I don't have, the original plan, I have it on my computer, but I don't have a printout, but, basically, it was a planting schedule. I'll try to just roughly point out on the screen here, right along West Meadow Road, so from roughly just south of where the new driveway entrance is after the bridge was upgraded, down to the southeast corner with a cluster of trees. You can actually see them here in this aerial view. That's back when the vegetation still existed. So there were about 51 plantings in total. And what, this wasn't the first time they got mowed down, so we recognized that, that is creating an issue for optimizing the agricultural use of the property. So what we're proposing is the fence line, which is tight to the array itself, doing a staggered planting right along that fence line so that it minimizes the impact of operating farm equipment around the perimeter of the project, but also satisfies the need to impact that view shed that is most sensitive to 519 Main Street. There really aren't any other sensitive receptors in the area. It's farmland, as I'm sure you all know, on all sides.
So for the sake of the public, this was presented to this board earlier this year. And what was happening is the original vegetation wasn't surviving. And so at that time, the planning board really didn't feel that there was anything in the bylaw that we could change to help you. So at that time, the proposal was, we still need to keep the scenic highway requirement there. And then we have to find some alternative vegetation. So what's being proposed, if I'm correct, is not replacing the vegetation along the roadway where it was originally installed, and now locating it closer to the solar array. And if I'm correct, they're proposing to put 5 rhododendron that are about, they go 5 to 15 feet high. And they're 5 to 12 feet apart. And proposing 6 Ilex calprana, which I don't know what that is.
Inkberry.
It's what?
Inkberry.
Oh, inkberry. And similar dimensions. So that's what's being presented tonight for the board's consideration. And
Okay.
any questions?
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
First, I want to introduce myself as a brand new member to the planning board. So I followed this a little bit on my own, but before coming on, but this is my first time participating as a planning board member with this issue. My question's about, I know that there was a problem of some of these trees or the prior, vegetation being removed, not just dying. And I'm wondering, has that been solved? That problem, is this been sorted out with the person removing them? Is this, are we just trying this to see if they stay, or has there been some?
That's exactly what this seeks to address, right? Is to move the plantings away from the roadside and some of the access points for the field move it immediately adjacent to the fence line. You know, a large piece of farming equipment is going to have a turning radius to cut at a 90-degree angle and go right along the fence line. So the objective here is to bring that vegetation in, preserve some of the original intents that were established when we originally approved the project. These are native species. These are species that are going to be okay with soil that can at times get a little damp, and try to provide a nice visual buffer while leaving as much open space as possible for farming operations. So something we've been discussing with the landowner, and we feel confident that this is a solution that will address all parties' concerns.
So is your confidence level 100%?
It's never 100%.
Okay. But you're confident that,
We've had conversations about
You've had
this
those
being a
conversations.
solution, and
okay,
so we're
all
trying
right,
to work.
that's, that, I didn't see the point of continuing to, well, let's try this and see if they don't get moved down.
Yeah.
I mean, you have had those conversations and you're
Correct.
most likely, this is gonna work out.
So
So we don't have to come back and do this again. Okay.
just so I fully understand the whole situation here, we have an owner of the property, and then we have the leasing people for the solar, is that correct?
That's us, correct?
That's you. So you have been working with the owner
Yes,
and trying to find a remedy.
correct.
The owner, the problem has been generated because of the owner's farm operations.
Correct.
That's why the vegetation hasn't been able to survive.
I think it's fair to say that it was a mix of vegetation being removed and vegetation just not surviving on its own in the conditions that are there along the roadway.
I'm just trying to get a whole perspective of
Yeah.
who's who and what's going on. The new vegetation that's being proposed, the species were selected by who?
Beals and Thomas, who's been our civil engineer and landscape architect for the duration of the project. So they were the ones that originally proposed the plan back in 2019, and they're the ones that are continuing to work with us on a revision.
So they selected these based on survival or the ground conditions and all that?
Yeah, they're aware, like we have a shallow, if you recall, there's a shallow basin there, detention basin. So there's the possibility, and obviously this whole property is in a flood zone, so there's a possibility that the soils are wet, so these species, number one, native species, number two, hope to be able to establish well in these types of soil conditions that are specific to this site.
So the landscape architect prepared this plan
Correct.
and his stamps on it?
No stamp.
It's in progress.
And if the new proposal was accepted, how tall will the initial plants be?
When we originally installed our plants on the site, they were typically like 5-gallon plants.
5-gallon
So I
plants.
would say somewhere in like a 5 to 7 gallon plant size to start. I think the goal there is to make sure that they establish well at a young size so they can then grow efficiently from there. When we have tried to plant larger things on sites, they typically stall out and have more difficulty establishing. So our landscape architect in this case was selecting not just species, but plant size to try to give them the best odds of being successful.
All right. I'm asking questions for the public.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where the original plants were, what would be the end product of that?
Where the original plants were, the end product that sits there today is working agricultural land.
As a what?
Working agricultural land. It's been cleared all the way to the road. So right up to West Meadow Road now is
So
hayfield.
that would be generally considered farmland?
Not for me to define, but yes, I would call that farmland.
Okay. So is that a restoration of farmland or is that some new material or?
I can't speak to the property owner. I know when I became initially involved in the site years and years ago, it was a mix of just weeds, invasives and other things. I know the site owner has been putting some effort into cleaning up the land adjacent to the roadway, and I just drove by it this afternoon and it's just hayfield.
Does anyone know what the natural vegetation is in that area?
It's been hayfield since I remember.
I mean, like
The previous owner.
maple trees or pine trees or,
Hey,
I mean, for
I'm sorry?
40 years that I know it, it's been a hayfield or a horse pasture. I
Oh,
don't think
really?
there's ever been any
Okay. Again,
prior
so-
to the solar field, of course.
okay.
Any other questions?
Carol, not to kick the can down the road, but this has been, I've been on a year and this has been talked about for a year.
Yes,
Is it worth going up and having a site visit and so we fully understand everything that's going on and proposed versus having these folks spend money on something that may or may not work?
Yeah, the owner thinks so, if I may.
you wanna think so?
The owner thinks that might be appropriate before you act.
Okay, to go on a site visit? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I've been up there before, I kinda know where these plantings are gonna be, or they know where the plantings were along the roadway that have, but I have no problem.
can we, I mean, you're representing the homeowner, I mean, the
representing-
property owner, not the homeowner. But
And he'd like. us
is there
to do the
something
site-
that we should know that's not?
The owner hasn't had a chance to review this and is not on board with this and necessarily in its current configuration, so.
Okay.
if we,
A site visit would,
yeah,
okay,
Greg, is that your opinion of what the landowner would want or?
I talked to him 45 minutes ago.
Okay, so, I had one more question.
The landowner would not like you to act, would appreciate you not acting on this evening, because he's not necessarily sold on this.
But what was presented tonight was the part of the problem with the original vegetation was that the farmer was cutting by accident or whatever the vegetation down.
Correct.
What's gonna prevent that from happening here?
Well, that's why I was suggesting a site visit, so we can actually see.
what do we need to do that?
Is there an alternate
Just pick a date.
proposal out there that,
I'm not sure at this point.
The planning board, just keep in mind, the
I don't have
planning
an
board
alternate.
can't waive that part of the bylaw.
Right.
It's
Right.
not within your right to waive that.
To waive
So
it,
there
so,
will be some vegetative
so
screening
he has to plant
along that
something
array.
somewhere.
to be compliant.
And,
Yeah, I mean,
can the property owner come to this meeting?
yeah, I mean, it sounds like the property owner hasn't necessarily agreed with
That's
this.
correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Does he realize that
I
they
don't
have
think
to
we
do
can
some
take any action.
vegetation? That the bylaw says they have to plant vegetation. He
I
just
think the
doesn't
property
like,
owner is aware of the situation, but he's not in agreement with this.
okay,
I'd like to ask, I mean, the site visit's fine,
yeah,
if that's what everybody wants. But I mean, can we invite the property owner to meeting to, for the next meeting that we're going to discuss this on and see how many, I'm not gonna be, no. But, yeah, it's the next
Yeah, I
meeting
think
that we're
the,
gonna hopefully
property owner knows-
finalize
I
this.
think the property owner knows that he's invited to attend on land that he owns.
okay, okay.
Has made the
But I mean
decision
specifically,
based on-
because this is just going on and on and on.
The
and
landowner
like-
has made a decision based on a lot of
Does he
information
have
to
a-
not attend.
Okay, so let me ask, does the owner have a, like, where he would like to see the vegetation?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I do not have an alternate plan for this evening, but I'm going to tell you that he's not on board with this.
Greg, we will be able to do a site visit, right? There's not gonna be a
The
problem.
owner asked,
Okay.
thought that might be an appropriate.
I think before we do anything formal here,
before we
we
go
need a
on.
definitive plan that both the owner and the solar company agree to review. You know, this, cause this is not necessarily accepted with the owner yet, so.
It's going up for a year.
Well, yeah, so yes, I agree with you, Robert. Before you start spending money planting and it's gonna be dug up or mowed down, we need to go out and look at the site. And then the two parties need to come up with a plan that follows the bylaw,
Right.
that's in compliance with the bylaw.
Right. We can't give you a plan, you have to give us one to evaluate. And, I'm kind of disappointed to know that what's being presented here hasn't necessarily been acceptable to all parties. So I don't think we can do much at this point. Thank you.
I just don't appreciate, personally, I just don't appreciate the delay. I mean, there needs to be a definitive conversation, maybe even written down between the person leasing the property and the property owner. Just to come here, you know, and just winging it is wasting our time and yours.
Yeah.
And it's costing somebody money, I'm certain.
Hey, Beth,
Yeah.
is there, any kind of time criteria on having this resolved?
Yeah, you can continue it as long as you need, you know, if you want more information, the board is welcome to continue it you know, I don't know if it's indefinite, but until you have what you need. If you don't get what you need, then you can decide. You can close the public hearing at any time, it's at your discretion.
So do we need to coordinate with you to do the site visit?
Please, yeah.
Okay, if we gave you dates, we could go.
I think that's.
Yeah, if he wants to schedule it, just have him schedule it now.
Yep.
When do people have free
Well,
time?
do we want to continue this? Or do we want the applicant to resubmit a new proposal?
I mean, I think there's only two choices. We can
Well,
take no action, or we can.
yeah, I don't think we
do a
take any
site visit.
action, and if we're gonna have a site visit, it probably should be based upon a proposal, don't you agree?
I
You
know,
can view what it looks like today and then you'll have a.
yeah.
It looks-
I mean, I've
Well, it
driven
might
by
be
it
more
100 times, but I
beneficial.
never-
To see what's there.
I mean, this is their proposal. I mean,
Well, it's not a unified proposal, that's the problem there.
So if we came with you, do you have an idea where the owner would like to see the vegetation? So if we go out to the site visit, we have their plan, we have the solar array plan.
Right.
Just schedule a meeting at your convenience and we'll make sure we're there.
It seems to me to do this properly. We need a proposal prepared by the owner and the leasing that they agreed would be what they'd like to do. And then we can have a site visit and see what's there and see what's being proposed and see if that all works.
Yeah, that's fine, but I mean, even with a plan in place, you're still gonna be looking at how it is today, so I mean, I think you could check the box and just go out and take a site visit.
Well, a site visit is a formal site visit with the planning board. Each member of the planning board can go by now and see what's there. You know,
Yeah, no, I've been by there.
independently. Those are my thoughts.
So to his question, the requested modification, I'll just read it to the board because this is what you have to decide on.
Okay.
And this is the thing that, you know, I think this is what you're getting at. Should they possibly withdraw this request?
That's right.
The way it's written. So
Okay.
if you'll allow me just to read it to the board, just because I know we have new members. The requested modification pertains to the removal of the vegetative screening south of the access road and along West Meadow Road and the associated conditions outlined in the original permit. We have included in the package an updated site plan to reflect the removal of the landscaping screening. We also request one of two modifications to the formal site plan approval. Number one, delete section 7 and 8 entirely, and I won't read those two, but those are conditions of approval that basically require the vegetative screening. Or add the below sentence to the end of section 7 and section 8 to allow for the non-existence of landscape screening. Additionally, the planning board may forego the requirement of the landscaping screening if the site is maintained to the town standards. So this is the actual modification that is for the planning board, and that's what you have to decide on. Will you grant that that modification as written, or will you not? And if you're not going to, I would recommend that the applicant withdraw.
Withdraw
and
rather than have a
resubmit.
denial.
Yeah, withdraw rather than get denied. Because if you took a vote on this right now, you would be voting on something that would not be consistent with the bylaw, that you don't have the ability to waive as a planning board.
Or take no action, right?
The owner is not
No,
asking
you
you
can't take
to,
no action.
the owner is not asking you to act, the owner is not asking you to withdraw, the owner is just asking for additional time to work the matter out. That's, I want
Well, if there's
No,
an
no, that's
application,
irrelevant. That's
I wanna be
That's
clear,
not relevant.
the owner
That's
is
irrelevant
not
to what the
asking
planning board
you
has
to do any of those things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so,
so does the applicant want to withdraw?
I mean, can we walk through again with that? I mean, why aren't we asking
because
for
you're
a
saying
continuation?
as it is written, it doesn't comply with the bylaw.
If you approve this, yeah, you will be approving a modification that is not.
Signage?
Yes, you can decide, you're the chair. This is the modification they're asking for. That's all in your packets,
Is section,
but it's been a while because this has been continued and continued, both with the boards. Because the board.
Counselor,
I mean, I don't know if you can amend that modification. It was already posted and published as
okay,
such. So
You can, yeah, you
You're
can, add-
granting
you
a
can add
modification.
testimony during the public hearing process at any point.
you're granting a modification.
Can I ask, who are the seated members on this that are able to vote on this matter?
Everybody?
everybody here?
When was the application filed?
There's a stamp on it. Do you have an authorization to represent the
I do.
property owner? I haven't seen it, I was just
I
curious.
spoke to the owner last week. come here.
Pardon me?
Copy of the agenda?
You can have this copy.
Okay, so you're right, we can't, we don't have the ability to,
Thank you.
fulfill the requirements of the landscaping, so that's in the bylaw. So we can't do that. 7 and 8,
It's unfortunate because it has to go back through, legal notification, a butter notification, but
So we
Yeah, I don't know
can't, we
why you
can't
do
table it
that.
and do a
I don't know why you
sidewalk?
do that, just continue it. Well, the owner is not asking you, not necessarily saying no on the vegetation, he's just saying, he's not necessarily in agreement with how it's presented this evening. I just would like to ask you to continue the matter, don't ask for withdrawal, just continue the matter. You're gonna get to the same place, so that we have more time to consider.
can we just continue it, or,
well,
I would,
you can't approve that.
no, we
You don't have to,
can't,
approve. we're not asking you to approve it.
no, we can't.
You're not
I
the applicant. The applicant is
That's true.
asking us to approve a modification, which you're not even responding to right now.
Well,
And
so,
we
I
I
can't,
would like an answer to my question, who are the seated members that are authorized to vote on that?
Right here.
right here, all of us are here,
When
but
was the application filed?
this one,
There's a stamp on
January 15th.
Who were the members here present that were seated, members of the
And
board?
it's everyone except Cindy.
Carol and
So there's 3 members, so they're here today, so there's, and that, you need 3 members to vote on this in favor?
Yeah, but we can't vote on this as it's presented.
I understand that, I'm just asking for the record, so 3 of you are allowed to vote on this, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would like to do a site visit and take no action on this? Is that what we want to do?
My suggestion.
it. I would give them the option to withdraw.
Or if you want to withdraw the application, or we just do the site visit and take no action on this modification tonight?
Yeah, you could continue it, sure.
I suggest that the applicant withdraw and resubmit.
I'm fine with that, if that's,
What would you, so withdraw and resubmit with,
If he withdraws,
after talking to the landowner, coming up with something,
right, so he withdraws without president.
this plan that we have.
Right. And so it's like an
Yeah.
application did not exist, and he can reapply. And that gives him an opportunity to, work it out with the owner and the leasing and come up with a proposal that they're asking us to look and approve. And then if it's necessary, we can have a site visit prior to that hearing or after that hearing, yeah.
Yeah, makes
So,
sense.
yeah, I think that makes sense, that the two of you need to, the owner and the lessee need to get together, come up with a mutual
I think-
But that's
agreeable
only if he's
plan.
willing
I think
to
that's
withdraw.
best.
To be clear, the owner is not asking the withdrawal of this application.
But be aware that the bylaw does say it has to be along the fence line.
I understand.
Okay, so if you two can come up with the owner and the lessee can come up with a plan that you both agree to, so that we don't have to drag this out over
I
and
understand
over
it's been
again.
dragged out a while. I don't understand why you would require withdrawal. Just continue the matter.
The
And we'll,
planning board would like to accommodate both the owner and the applicant.
yeah, but the same thing could happen.
All right. The current zoning bylaw
I understand.
requires what was originally there. So this is going to be requested for us to make a determination about modifying that bylaw for the benefit of the applicants, or to mandate it stays the way it was originally approved. So what this board is doing, in my view, is giving both applicants an opportunity to withdraw, resubmit a modification that they would like the board to look at that is satisfactory to them.
I understand what you're saying. We can get to the same point with continuation.
Okay,
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Yes, we
No.
can.
Cannot
We
approve.
don't
Yes,
wanna
we can
deny-
modify
we
we can
don't
modify
wanna
the
deny
application,
the applicant.
requested, we can modify the requested relief as part of the public record. That can happen as part of the public
okay,
record.
well,
You know what?
Right.
I think that this board's capable of deciding what action they want to take.
It absolutely is. I'm just
I
telling you that it can both.
I think it would be
done
the
on
best
both
interest to withdraw, work it out together, come back with a.
He's gotta be willing to withdraw.
Okay.
Is the applicant willing to withdraw?
What's the next question? I need to bring a lawyer tonight. So the motion before the planning board is either the old plan or a waiver to the town's bylaws.
We
That's what
can't
you're
waive,
voting on.
but we can't
You can't
waive,
waive
You
we're
waive,
not
waive,
allowed
not
to
in
waive.
jurisdiction.
So you don't want to deny.
Those are the only two outcomes for the motion
I-
before the planning board.
Mine is, I don't see why we can't do a sidewalk and continue it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my proposal.
but that's saying we can't approve this plan the way it
Just
is.
so everybody's
But
clear.
we're not approving the plan, we're gonna table it, it was,
Okay.
maybe we can't do it, but that's,
I'm fine with tabling it, do a site walk, let the landowner and the lessee come up with a mutually agreeable
Well,
planting solution along the fence line.
What,
And,
what the consultant for the owner, Wilson Roy, is saying here, and what the planning board is saying, we cannot modify the bylaw, which what you're proposing is. So that would compel this board to
I
deny,
understand.
okay?
Yep.
So that means you gotta stick with the original bylaw. And based on the earlier hearings, that was the intent of the planning board. So we can take this and deny it. Your request for a modification, which probably will be denied because we don't have any authority to change the bylaw. Okay, do you understand?
Yeah, I think the applicant would request that, you take, the board take no action, we conduct the site visit.
So the owner's consultant is correct here. He's basically saying, there's no need for a new plan because this board really cannot modify anything other than what the bylaw allows.
The bylaw just says screening though, right?
Yeah.
We're also not contending that we need to go back to the original plan. I want to be clear, the owner is not contending that. We want time to work out a solution that we believe meets the bylaw and is satisfactory to the owner and to the applicant.
Amen.
And I think we can do that with a continuance in the
Okay,
sidewalk.
I think so. All right,
Okay, that sounds good.
thank you.
I think what Beth has told us, that
So
we can
we can't do a
continue this, but
continuance.
we can still never vote on the modification that's been applied for because it doesn't meet the bylaw.
And we
So the
appreciate that.
continuance.
The way
would
it's written,
So continuing it is
Okay.
continuing something that's not legal in the first
Okay.
We
place.
can modify the record. We understand we understand, the owner understands your straw poll vote on that and your discussion on that topic. And now we can have an informed discussion with the applicant.
Okay,
So
so
we can,
basically we can't continue because it was just the continuation
right,
of the
something that we know we're
modification
gonna
that
deny.
we can't approve. So, okay, I get that. So we can't do a continuance because it's just a continuance of something we have no authority over.
That's not true, Madam Chair,
So
respectfully.
we're not gonna go over that circle. So what would we call it? A new?
You could vote on it if you wanted, I mean, that's.
Why don't, I would suggest,
Okay.
why don't we just deny it?
Okay.
And then they'll have to go with what the original requirements were. And we'll go from there.
No, I think you're wrong.
With all due respect, I think
No,
you're right,
that's-
all the time.
No,
Because
that's-
it calls for a screening, it doesn't say where.
It does
Here.
say where.
it does say where.
Did you
Does
read the
it,
bylaw? It says right along the fence line.
It says along the fencing of the array is a requirement in the
so
bylaw.
so we're gonna go back, what you're saying is gonna go back to the original and it's gonna go up by the road? Because that's the
No.
original.
See, the original was probably wrong. It should have been along the fence line all
Yeah.
along.
Exactly.
So, but we accepted it along the roadway because I guess that's what we thought.
Well, it was,
So,
when
we
the
can't
whole
do-
thing was approved initially was along the roadway.
yeah,
Right, which was.
Then they
evidently
came
down the
back
road.
for a hearing because the vegetation was not surviving.
It was removed.
it was
It was being
removed. So, okay, so we know all that. So right now we gotta figure out a way forward. So we know we can't, approve the modification. So the best we can do is do a site visit. Those two are the landowner and the lessee are gonna come up with a plan. And we can't continue it because we can't continue on this. So what do we call it? A new hearing?
So those
Can you
were,
amend it?
so those were the two choices, deny it or withdraw, right?
Yeah,
Can you amend it, the application, you think?
we can amend it.
But we have to have something to amend it with.
Right, so he would amend it by removing the request for,
Oh, for
you
those,
know what I mean, like changing the wording instead of going back to ground zero and reapplying. If you could just amend that modification request into something more, in line with what we're doing.
If I may, and I'm trying, I'm not, so sorry, I'm not trying to. This happens all the time, okay? I do this for a living. We submit plans to boards like yours and conservation commissions. You don't like something because you don't think what we've proposed meets a section of the bylaw, your regulations. We go back to the drawing board and we amend it. It happens all the time. So you've told us that you don't like the solution that you've come up with here. We're asking you to continue the matter, not withdraw it or not ask us to withdraw it or deny it. We're asking you to continue the matter to give us an opportunity to take your consideration that you've said here, and the whole discussion here, and work on a solution. I don't understand why you would have to act on the thing, just continue the meeting.
It's not the plan you're acting on.
but
the
it's,
application.
We can
It's written
amend
down.
any portion of the submitted document.
but you didn't submit.
Well, you know, the
The applicant can amend any portion of the submitted document.
Okay,
We're part of the public hearing
The
process.
complex,
okay,
We're
so,
hearing
wait,
your
wait a minute,
concerns.
there's a complex issue here.
Okay,
We have an owner and a leasing,
that's true. I
okay?
understand.
And that is not our problem,
I
all
understand.
right? So this board is accustomed to having motions brought before us to approve or not approve something,
I
okay?
understand.
And we don't have that.
But
Right,
you're
so-
also accustomed to giving the applicant
okay,
comments.
the only
And
thing
the
we
applicant
need,
goes back and addresses
We
your comments. That's what
pointed
you're
out
doing.
the concerns.
Carol, I make a
Okay.
motion, we continue this.
okay.
I make a motion, we continue it, because we're not getting anywhere.
And he still has to come up with a screenplay, so I'm fine with continuing it.
So if we continue it, we're continuing this applicant,
Oh,
right?
that's,
Which
so can we amend?
probably needs to be modified.
All right, so do we need to have them go back and amend it? Because in the end, the solar array people have to comply with the bylaw, or put up a screening of vegetation. They've been having problems over the years with that vegetation screening. We need to resolve the vegetation screening along the fence line.
I understand.
No,
And
the
so
applicant has to resolve
the
that.
applicant has to. Somebody has to resolve the screening.
It is, I grant that it's a tricky situation.
Okay, so,
I have a question about what are the consequences if somebody doesn't come up? I mean, we have to, come up with this has to end.
yes,
So when do we say, okay, enough is enough? And what are the consequences if this just keeps going? And I mean, I don't understand why this has to keep going, but what are the consequences for, when do we say, okay, there's a violation here and this is the consequences of that? Why, somebody needs to kick somebody and get this done.
We can't do anything that's not authorized by the bylaw,
Okay,
all right? So that's a fact.
is it other
It
consequences?
has nothing to
of
do
bylaw?
with Mother Nature or anything
Yeah,
else, okay? So,
but we gotta come up with, I understand we
I don't
can't,
understand why we can't continue. This is a public hearing, right?
because it would be continuation of his application. And the application that, so the Flock Solar people put in place, we can't act on. Because we can't waive some of the sections they're requesting to be waived, because we don't have the authority to waive it. So if we
But
continue.
is it continuation, asking them to, by continuing, are we?
you're
agreeing to waive
continuing the
anything?
application.
continue
So,
we're
We
continuing the
already
hearing.
know that the board would have to deny the application as
So-
it's written.
Either we can deny it tonight, the application, because even continuing it, we can't waive it. So we're just continuing something that we can
The
never,
problem just goes
is
forward.
that we can't accept it, so we either deny it or the applicant withdraws it and resubmits it with a new
It
plan.
happens on
And the third
almost
option-
every single hearing.
The third option is,
They can't
Carol,
Mhm.
Chair, I think that they could amend it, it just may need to be reposted and republished. So if
Okay.
you tell them clearly that is, that's not an application that you can approve, but if they would like to amend it and redo it, if you will, because
Okay,
that right there would be a denial, Palmer. So, yeah, it can amend it, and then we'll decide whether it needs to be reposted and republished, or whether we could just go ahead, I think.
Okay,
Pretty
so-
sure you can do that.
Yeah.
all right,
I'm good
so,
with that.
okay.
So do
we're
they
good with
want
that.
us to address amending it?
Did you do that?
I would like, the owner would like to ask you to continue the matter as was moved.
Well, it's the applicant that has to.
I know, but
Right
I'm telling you what the owner's opinion is.
So we're amending it.
So if you're amenable to amending
If
it,
the applicant wants to, are you,
I do not know what we would amend it to, but if the board feels it would be appropriate to amend at this stage versus a later date, then you can certainly.
well, you'd have to remove any request for a waiver to the bylaws.
Okay.
because we can't waive
It's
them.
not the jurisdiction of the planning board.
It's, yeah, we can't do that, so we would have to do that. So do we need to do a motion to,
Yeah.
I guess you would do some sort of a motion to allow the applicant to amend their, modification application? Would that work? That's a lot of words. But I think.
I think
And then
that's
resubmit
wise.
it, resubmit it with the, with,
No,
Yeah, they can resubmit.
resubmit it with the amendments.
The amendment, with the plan after, and then the site visit can go on anytime.
Right.
That's fine.
okay, so,
I make a motion that the applicant amend the application so it is compatible with the owner and the leasing. And we'll, that's the motion.
And resubmit,
Pardon me?
and resubmit,
And resubmit, right,
An amendment.
and amendment.
amendment, right, amended application.
I think I'll second that.
And then we can address it.
okay.
Point more, I'm sorry, I have to, I'm sorry, I know I'm not an attorney, but we have an application before you.
But this is all about the
There's
solar
an
rate
app,
application.
sorry.
You don't have an
There's a-
application
There- you know,
before.
I do because my client had to sign on it, signatory. That's all. This happens all the time. We submit
I know, but we've
you-
already gone down
we
this
don't have
path.
to amend an application, the
He
applicant
has to
submitted an
take out, he
application.
has to take the language out that we
That's
can't.
fine, but we can do that without amending the application.
No,
No, you can't.
Yes, we
I'm
can.
sorry.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
We disagree with
Okay,
you.
that's fine,
Okay.
that's fair. Okay,
Okay.
but I am going
We
around and saying, we can
disagree
do that.
with you.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't know if an
We-
attorney
Can we,
would agree with you.
can we
We've
take a
spent a
vote?
lot of time discussing this. We understand the
Okay.
situation.
All right,
I
come on,
You
we gotta-
understand the
we gotta go
situation
to the
of
next
our
meeting. Robert,
limitations.
Robert,
an hour late.
okay, let's vote on it, because we have other meetings coming up.
I made that motion.
And I seconded
And
it.
she seconded it, so vote.
Well, we only have 3 people that can act on this.
Why?
Madam Chair. There's only 3 people on your table that can act on this application.
Every member of this board can act on this. Robert Therin, yes.
Carol Hoff says yes.
I'm still confused with what we're doing, but we're
I
amending
guess
it,
We're
we're gonna
gonna,
do a site walk.
No,
we're gonna amend it with the new agreed upon.
We
between
made
the
a
owner and
motion
the lessee to come up with a.
to allow the applicant to amend his application
and resubmit.
And
and
resubmit.
resubmit.
And I seconded that motion.
Right. So,
That's the motion on the floor.
Because we can't waive what he's asking us to waive in the application.
so the applicant doesn't have to start over again, okay? He just has to modify his application. So it conforms with the bylaw. That's what we just, the motion's about.
I don't know, I don't know, I'm still confused.
You
So,
what?
I'm still confused.
Yes, no, or abstain.
The motion, the application as it is would compel us to
The
deny
new
it.
application.
The one that
The one
we're
that's in
we're
front of
looking
us
at
right now
tonight
with this
Yes,
plan.
the one
Alright.
that's in front of us tonight.
Yeah,
would compel us to deny it. All right, so then that's ground zero, start all over, new application. What we've offered tonight and is the motion on the table is to allow the applicant to modify their
To
application
amend his application.
so that this can continue. All right? And his modification would require that it complies with the bylaw. So that would allow us to approve anything he wants to modify from what was original. Right?
In other
So
words-
this board can't change what was original. And that's why if this application as it stands would be compelled to be denied. So we're giving an opportunity here for the applicant to modify his application rather than deny it and have it continue. That's what this will do.
So this is gonna be continued. This is gonna be continued. by
Yeah,
this.
well, it's gonna be continued, assuming he's gonna modify his application. So it's continued. If he doesn't modify the application, it will be denied.
Okay. Brett King, aye.
Okay. That's unanimous.
When I
Was that a
seconded it,
yes?
I think
Yeah.
I need to say aye.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay,
Motion
and
carries.
aye as well, yeah.
Carol,
I'm sorry.
motion carried.
Motion carried, yes. Okay. All right, do we have to do anything else, or do I close the
That's it.
public hearing?
All right. That concludes that.
Madam Chair,
Hello?
I apologize, I'm in a butter and very familiar with what's going on with this whole thing.
Okay.
Did you ask for any opinions from the butters? Or did I miss that altogether?
We have comments. from the others.
We had asked earlier, maybe you weren't here.
I thought you started at 7 and I'm sorry. I missed
Oh,
it.
yeah, we started 6:30.
You might wanna come back to this and let Andrew.
There's gonna be another hearing.
Do I need to close this?
No, but continue it and let Andrew come back. to
Hearing.
The hearing.
Okay,
Yeah, continue it, so
continue, okay.
you're gonna continue the hearing.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to continue it?
Yes.
I move that we
Take a
can,
motion to continue.
I move that we so moved, we're moving to continue this
You need to
I
continue it
second.
to a date and,
to our next meeting, which is
June 8th,
June 8th.
okay,
Is that enough time?
June 8th?
the applicant.
Is that enough time for the applicant?
For the owner, it is, yeah.
Sure.
And the applicant, yeah, Palmer, that's okay. Yeah.
All right, continue it to June 8th.
I second.
Brett King, yes.
Robert Darian, yes.
I guess we have to wait for her to come back. For her vote. Carol, we need your vote on whether to continue it. We all voted,
Yes.
okay, all right.
Carol Hawes is here.
So all those who are in
Motion
favor of
carries.
continuing it to June 8th.
I think we did this one. So you can stick this underneath.
Okay, excellent.
Sorry.
Welcome back, Andrew.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
We missed you.
sure. Let's move to 2.2, I believe, which is the 6:45-ish public hearing, Zero Cedar Road, definite subdivision approval and associated major stormwater permits. So I'd like to formally open the public hearing at 7:28 PM. I'd like to introduce the board members. We'll go clockwise.
Cindy King?
Carol Hofstas.
Brett King?
Robert Darian?
And Andrew Shepherd. So there should be a public sign-in sheet. It seems it was circulating and being signed. If you haven't, just please sign it. I will read the legal ad and I'll explain the order of business. Anyone have the legal ad in front of them?
The legal ad.
You have the
I
legal
do.
ad, Cindy?
Okay, hold on.
Hold on,
Oh, in your correspondence
all right,
folder.
I'm still in the wrong one, hold on.
Okay.
I'm still up
Printed
on,
out a copy of it.
I know. I've seen
okay, I got it.
Okay.
You
You
want me to
mind
read
reading
it?
it?
Okay. Legal notice, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the subdivision control law, Mass General Law, Chapter 41, subsection 81K through 81GG, including Section 81T, Townsend General Bylaw, Chapter 85, NPDES Phase 2 Stormwater Management, and Chapter 175, Article 5, Stormwater Regulations, the Townsend zoning bylaw and the planning board subdivision rules and regulations The planning board will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 11th at 6:45 PM in the Select Board Chambers, Memorial Hall, 272 Main Street, Townsend, Mass, and via Zoom, on two applications submitted by Belvedere Capital LLC for approval of a definitive plan of a subdivision entitled Definitive Plan for Seaver Road Extension for a proposed 3-lot single-family residential subdivision and roadway extension of 560 feet located at 0 Seaver Road, Townsend, Mass, Assessors Map 23, Block 4, Lot 0, Parcel ID 23-4-0, and a major stormwater management permit for the associated land disturbance activities and stormwater management system. The applications and all supporting documents are available for public review at the town clerk's office and the land use department during regular business hours. Electronic copies may be requested by emailing planning@townsendma.gov. Zoom meeting information will be posted on the Town of Townsend website on townsendmass.gov calendar prior to hearing. Interested persons are invited to attend and be heard either in person or remotely via Zoom. Written comments may be submitted in advance to the Planning Board Office, 272 Main Street, second floor, Townsend, Mass. 01469, or email to planning@townsendmass.gov. Andrew Shepherd, Chair, Town of Townsend Planning Board. Should I read the publication?
Sure.
Published in Groton Herald, April 3rd and April 10th, 2026, and to abutters, applicant, Assessor's Office, Select Board, Board of Health, Building Commissioner, Conservation Commission, Fire Department, Highway Department, Police Department, Town Clerk, Water Department, ZBA, abutting towns of Ashby, Groton, Pepperell, Lunenburg, Shirley, Brookline, New Hampshire, and Mason, New Hampshire.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
You might be surprised, this is not our normal attendance for the Townsend Planning Board meeting, so I'm just gonna generally outline what our process is gonna be. I anticipate this probably won't be done tonight. Who knows? So, you know, I expect it'd probably be a continuance at some point to a future meeting, and there'd probably be another opportunity to make sure everybody, you know, is able to contribute. First order would be inviting the applicant to, or their representative or engineer to present their proposal. Following that, the board would roughly review bylaws or have some questions for the applicant and their engineer. We would read mandatory referral comments from other town officials. I believe we have 2 from Highway Department and 1 other. Could read in written correspondence from abutters or concerned citizens, and then public questions and comments. So we try to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. You know, normally the public comment tends to come towards the end of it. The goal is to make sure all that are here have a chance to share their opinion. In the interest of time, you know, I think we'll see how things are going, and if, you know, maybe at some point, if it's clear that we'll need to move it, we make that decision earlier than later, and or continue it and go from there. So I'd like to open it up to the applicant and their engineer. I'm not sure if they're in person or if they're only on the screen.
Mr. Chair, we're both on by Zoom.
Okay, excellent.
All right. So to the chair and the members of the board, for the record, my name is David Plunkett, and I'm representing the applicant, Belvedere Capital LLC. This is pertaining to the plan for the development of 3 residential lots on Seaver Road. We have Wayne Bellick, who's of the Land Design Collaborative, the site engineer for the project. And, you know, Wayne will go through the steps of presenting the plan to you, and, you know, we stand ready to discuss and answer any questions. And, you know, again, Mr. Chair, understanding what you're saying about potentially for another meeting, you know, we'll go through the process and come to what we expect to be a good project for the town. So with this, I'd like to defer to Wayne for the purpose of going through the plan and presenting the plan to the board and the residents viewing this meeting.
Thank you, David. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Beth, nice seeing you again, Beth, Wayne Bellick Land Design Collaborative. We're the civil site engineers for the project. If I could start, I think it'd probably be in an effort to try to save time here, Mr. Chairman, to let me pretty much control the screen. If Beth could hand over the sharing to me, I'd like to be able to just rip right through the plans if that's okay.
That's through TCAM.
TCAM, could you authorize Wayne to share a screen?
All right, you should be able to share now.
Thank you.
Thank you. You folks see it?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you. So again, just this is the locus map. This basically shows where the subject property is with respect to Tyler Road and the town line. Here's the Townsend-Lunenburg town line. Tyler Road is out here. From here to here is about 1,975 feet. That is a public right-of-way. And then there's the rest of it obviously is private. It's a private piece of property. I'm going to go right to the existing conditions plan. Pretty straightforward. It's a 13-acre parcel. It has 37 feet of frontage along here. This is its legal frontage. It's non-conforming, thus requiring the filing of the subdivision plan. The project does contain a wetland system. There are no floodplains, AULs, other jurisdictional areas other than the wetland system. And then over to the east, just for orientation, north is pretty much straight up the sheet. Over to the west, rather, there's a portion of Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program jurisdiction, which we are not proposing any work. As the board may be aware, this falls on the heels of a preliminary plan approval back in May of 2022. We understand there was a previous filing to that, which was a definitive, which did get denied. However, back in 2022, there was another filing that was made for which the planning board had granted a preliminary plan approval. So we have recently been before the Conservation Commission. We had opened and closed the hearing on March 11th. Following that, we had met in April with members of the planning board and Beth, as well as Hoyle Tanner, the town's peer review consultant, to walk the site and discuss the project. So in terms of the site, topographically, like I said, it's about 13 acres. Topographically, it flows down to the wetland system in the low reaches of the site from north to south, and again, from east to west, and then from this area downward. Topography on the site varies, and we can get into that on the conservation area map required by the filing. But again, town line is back here, this area here. So the town public right-of-way ends here. This portion here was formerly public right-of-way, but it was abandoned back in 1973, and it is now part of the property. And there's an easement for the benefit of number 50, Seaver Road, Mr. and Mrs. Cohen. So that's for the right to pass and repass. They have electrical down in this area here, some electrical boxes serving their property. The property is vegetated with stands of primarily deciduous trees, a lot of briar on the property, and then obviously the wetland plant community. There is a groundwater protection overlay district, zone 2, along the eastern side of the property. There is no work being proposed beyond that, and actually that encompasses the area on site, and we comply with the requirements of that overlay district. The area that the conservation area map or plan is a requirement of the subdivision rules and regs. And basically what you see in here are in red. So in this area here is the wetland system with the hatch patterns and the like. And then we depict the 35 no disturb zone, 50-foot buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone. Areas in green are slopes that are somewhere between 10 to 25%. The areas in blue, the darker blue, are slopes greater than 25%. The test pits on site that are less than 4 feet to groundwater are identified with circles around them. So anything you see a circle around, a red circle indicates that groundwater is observed, estimated seasonal high groundwater, or observed standing groundwater or weeping less than 4 feet. The other feature on the map is Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program, which, as I said, is located to this side of the project, for which we are not doing any work within it. The next sheet is the lotting plan. Now, as I explained to members of the planning board when we were out at the site, and when I was speaking with Dave Langley, the peer review consultant from Hoyle Tanner, had it not been for the abandonment of that portion of Seaver Road, this would be simply an A&R plan, approval not required plan. We would have been pretty much one and done with you folks coming in, not seeking an approval, but seeking an endorsement. It wouldn't be a definitive plan. Like I said, it would be an approval not required plan, because we would have the required frontage along a public way and the required lot area. Because, as I said earlier in the presentation, we are looking at 37 feet of legal but non-conforming frontage, it necessitates a subdivision road, okay? And that subdivision road is what generates the frontage to create the 3 lots. Under your subdivision rules and regs, something I've never seen before in all my years, and I think I've been doing this for about 45 years. I see Greg Roy is in the audience. I saw him in the audience earlier. Greg remembers me. I taught him some things when he was in high school. So it kind of puts into perspective how old this guy is here. So like I said, we had roughly 37 feet of frontage. The subdivision rules and regs have a restriction. Whenever you're doing a subdivision road, you cannot provide direct frontage from the new road to abutting lots. And the intent there is to prevent the abutting lots from obtaining frontage on those roads to create new lots, is my understanding of the way it's worded. So in order to do this, we have proposed a 1/2 foot wide strip to comply with that requirement. It's hard to see at this scale, but there's a 1/2 foot, 3/4 foot wide strip, as I see right here, 0.75 feet between the property and the proposed layout of the road. I'm not sure how many members of the board were around in 22 when the preliminary plan was approved, but Graz Engineering had done the original design on this. And when I looked at this and I saw this 3/4 foot strip, I reached out to Graz and they told me that it was in fact because of the bylaw or the regulations, which he directed me to that section. And again, it was something I'd never seen. So that's why we had designed it that way. It's consistent with the preliminary plan that was approved back in 22. Once we get beyond the pinch point here, we open it up to your required 40-foot layout. Back in 22, the planning board had sought input from the various departments in town, and one of the departments, most notably, was the fire department. The question had come up with respect to the pavement width, and the fire department was in agreement that 18 feet was adequate, provided there were 2-foot shoulders. And it was based on that we had designed the road at 18 feet. To the center of the cul-de-sac here, back to the end of the layout of the public way, is 500 feet. Extending it to the very end of the cul-de-sac is 570 feet. The lots range in size anywhere from about 2.5 acres to about 6 acres. So the process would start with site prep and erosion sediment control. For those members of the board who were out there at the site walk, and when I presented to conservation, I said that, we could have shown the limit of clearing along the roadway, real tight to the road, around here, And as we see here with the squiggly line here, that's the limit of clearing. But it would have been disingenuous, quite honestly. It would have, not had taken into account the materials processing area, the storage area for soils on site as the property is worked, construction trailer and the like. So we had decided to show the limits of clearing required for the subdivision, which are going to be coincident with the limits of clearing that we are proposing for the lots as well. So as I said, we have the stockpile areas. We size these things based on the amount of material that we calculate that are going to be stripped from the site and stored for future use on site. You'll see this area here, MAPA. This is a materials processing area. That is basically when they excavate the material, if there's any rock crushing where they can repurpose the material on site, that's where that's going to be done. It will also be used for any clearing of trees when they're grinding stumps or creating wood chips for slope stabilization. That will occur in here. Any fuel storing, fueling of vehicles will occur outside the buffer zone. We've identified this area here. Keep in mind that when you look at a project like this, as the project evolves in construction, things move, things morph, but this is generally what we're looking at here for the construction layout. Limits of clearing will not move. The limits of clearing are established. Those will not change as part of any activity on site. The area the project is designed with some stormwater management in advance of the stormwater management. Anytime you're dealing with a construction site, it's susceptible to erosion. So basically what we're looking at out here is the construction entrance, as discussed with the Conservation Commission, is going to be a crushed stone riprap apron out here, typically 3 to 4 inch stone, topped with like 1.5 inch stone to protect the vehicle tires as they leave the site. This is an anti-tracking pad. So many sediments that go to leave the site, or any vehicles that go to leave the site, will lose their sediments in this anti-tracking pad. This is going to be part of a stormwater management pollution prevention plan we filed, referred to as the SWIP. Because we're altering more than 1 acre of land, it triggers a filing with the federal EPA, a NPDES permit. So it's going to require, similar to the local Conservation Commission's notice of intent, it's an ENOI with the EPA for work that is altering more than 1 acre of land. I bring this up because during construction, they're going to have what I call it a living, breathing document on site. And what that is typically a 3-ring binder, 3 to 5 inch 3-ring binder that contains the permit from the NPDES permit, conservation permit, permits from the planning board, your stormwater permit that would be issued in the definitive approval. It would also include any plans, documentation. As part of that process, it's going to be subject to inspections. We have in-house an erosion sediment control specialist who will be visiting the site to monitor the site after 1.5 inch of rainfall or during other times when periodic reviews, perhaps once a week if there is no rainfall, just to ensure the erosion sediment control measures are still intact. If they find that anything's not intact, they write it up in the report, they leave it in the SWIP, they provide a copy to the issuing authority, and they leave one with the contractor, communicating with the contractor to get this fixed. Once they get it fixed, they call us back, or we would go back out there and confirm that it has been done. Typically on something like that, folks, we hop on it quickly, especially during summer months where you have thunderstorms, and we know what that can bring. So that's the erosion sediment control plan. As I said, we have sediment basins that are proposed. These dash lines in here represent diversion channels. So basically, as you can see with the topography, it pitches in this area. So as they work in the grades on site, it's going to have that propensity to flow in this direction. We pick up any erosion and it will discharge into the sediment basin. The sediment basin will take, once it gets to about a half foot to a foot deep of sediment. We usually don't let it get that far, but they're allowed to a half foot to a foot deep of sediment before they have to clean it. If they find that during construction, these sediment swales are not effective, that they have to do something again, perhaps up through here and connect, they do it. Again, like the SWIP, it breathes, it's living, it's breathing, and it advances as site conditions dictate. So with that, I'm going to go to the grading and drainage plan. So the site has a high point, several hundred feet back up Seaver Road. As you can see from the topography here, existing topography, which are the dash lines, this represents or indicates that the flow comes in this direction. Okay, that pitches as you're looking at it at the screen now, it pitches to the east side of the road or the right side of the road as we're looking at it. And for those who were out in the field with me, I pointed it out and you could see, I don't know if the board members will recall, but there were some rills forming in the gravel road. That is typical of erosion. The design that we have here, as I explained to the board members in the field, the plan that was approved by the planning board didn't show any curbing. It didn't show, it showed an open drainage system, a roadway swale type system. In looking at and quite honestly, folks, the roadway swale system is much less expensive than what we have proposed here. However, looking at the possibility of erosion when you're dealing with 6 to 7% slopes, longitudinal slopes, it's going to increase the velocity. You're going to get some scouring, so it hits that scouring velocity threshold and begins to erode. What we've done here is we've decided to take, like I said, further up the road here. We have the high point. It pitches down to here. Rather than route everything through our basin, which would have caused this basin here to possibly triple in size, double or triple in size, we took the offsite runoff, of which we're not changing whatsoever. We're taking that and we're routing it through here, which is a swale. There's going to be a bituminous concrete spillway here that is going to drop into a sediment forebay lined with riprap, sediment basin actually, and then it'll flow over a very shallow graded longitudinal graded grass swale. The sides of the swale will be riprap because of the vertical slope of 1-to-1. We wanted to keep that footprint nice and tight. As part of our calculations, the hydraulic calculations, and part of the hydrology calculations, we indicate this as one of the reaches in one of the subcatchment areas in the post-development hydrology, and we have sized this swale accordingly. Once it gets to the end of the swale, it really doesn't need a plunge pool because the velocities are going to be so dissipated. But once it gets down here, we are proposing again a riprap plunge pool with a level spreader. So basically, once it hits this area here, it goes from your channelized flow down the gutter of the street, comes through here, continues at a channelized flow, and then once it hits this area in here, it hits the level spreader here, and it gently cascades over the top and works its way down gradient. During the meeting with conservation, Mr. Michael Seekman, who represents or who's related to Ms. Milligan next door, he's our son-in-law. He had raised some questions about concerns about whether or not this was going to pond on his property or flow onto his property. Based on the topography in here, that is not going to happen. All this is pitching downhill like this. And so once the water hits this, it cascades over the top and then continues down here through the swale and then through a double culvert here, a pair of 12-inch, I believe these are 12-inch culverts that we are proposing here. Nope, a pair of 24s, I'm sorry. Pair of 24-inch culvert that take the flow from up above through to a plunge pool, level spreader, and that has the same effect that the one-up gradient of that does. Dissipates the energy and allows it to slowly cascade over the top. The street system is comprised of deep sump hooded catch basins. We have a pair of catch basins here prior to, and I'll get into the realignment of Mr. Cohen's driveway. Pair of catch basins up gradient of his driveway is not to create an icing condition in front of his driveway. It intercepts any water that comes down the gutter, intercepts it, picks it up, runs it through the drainage system down to a drain manhole here, which picks up a double catch basin at the end of the site and then discharges it through a flared end into a plunge pool in here. This is a breach point here, so this is a sediment forebay. This will overtop the basin, flow into here, and there's a equalizer pipe down below here that would allow for these pipes to flow through here. So I guess the question to the planning board, why this? Why this? Why didn't you take the flow, divert it around, and then have it come out in this direction? We like to align the pipes, is not to create too much turbulence at the inlet. We like to align the pipes so that they align with the natural flow of stormwater runoff. That's what this accommodates here. It did cause us to create an equalizer pipe. So basically, the basin is comprised of this area here and this area here. Between the two, if this should get obstructed and this begins to surcharge, it'll overtop at this location, flowing into this basin here. So it's kind of a belt and suspenders approach. The outlet to the basin is a typical outlet control structure. It's cylindrical in shape, basically, and this is it here with multiple orifices in it to regulate and establish the peak rates as they exit the basin. This then again discharges into a plunge pool level spreader, which, like the others, dissipates the energy and then cascades over the top before it makes its way down to the wetland system where it currently goes. The soils on site, I know you guys require a soils plan. We did provide a soil plan for the stormwater basins and for the septic areas. Septic areas we have yet to test. That was done by Grads Engineering years ago. They had come up with septic designs, which we carried over those septic designs into this plan for the purposes of the presentation. We will revisit those areas following or maybe during this process or shortly following this process to perform additional testing as may be necessary. The soils on site, loamy sands. One test pit had a sandy loam. So these loamy sands, hydrologic soil groups B and C. We do have some D soils down in the wetland system. For those of you who are not familiar with soils, the B and C soils are the B especially. So A and B soils are well permeating, drain very well. The C soils still drain pretty well, not as well as the A and B, and the D soils have very low permeability, which is why they're primarily in the wetland systems. So with Mr. Cohen's driveway, he currently comes down here, and as the board saw out in the field, gravel driveway that comes down to here. During storms, I would imagine that where we've experienced some rills up above, he's probably experiences that down below to the wetland system. One of the benefits of this system, of this drainage system, is whatever sediments are deposited in the wetlands downstream, that won't happen anymore. That will be collected, treated, and then released. So with respect to Mr. Cohen's driveway, two ways we could have addressed this. We could have had it just continue through here, but as he exits his driveway, proper design is that anytime you take a driveway or a roadway, you want to come in as tight as possible to 90 degrees as possible, no less than 60 degrees. So we aligned this portion of the driveway such that he's able to come down his driveway, be able to pull into this area, look to the right without much strain, and then continue through. It's also a traffic calming measure. If he's coming through here, rather than driving through here with somebody coming up through here, in a merged situation, at least both motorists can see any oncoming cars. I mentioned the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program earlier. That's this boundary here. Like I said, we are doing no work within that. We are proposing erosion sediment control measures, and all of this has been approved by the Conservation Commission. The next sheet is the cut fill plan. So what you see in green, basically what we had done is we had taken a look at the entire site. So it's essentially a full build out, what we're anticipating of the development. What you see in red are cuts. What you see in, actually, is that right? No, that is, yes, those are cuts. What you see, they go to areas of fill, so it transitions in color from the greens through the reds, or from the reds through the oranges, greens to the blues and the purples, where that would indicate areas of cut and fill. When all is said and done, the yardage that we're looking at is broken down here, and where I think we have an excess of fill material, yes, right up here, you can see that the analysis has resulted in an additional 4,000 yards of fill. 4,000 yards of fill sounds significant, but anybody that does site work knows that you can lose material quite easily. So the way we see this is that material may be hauled off site, or I'm sorry, that's fill. That's going to be hauled into the site. Part of that is for the roadway process gravel base, and for the material that is going to create the berm of the stormwater basin so that it is impermeable. Cut fill, plan and profile. So the plan and profile, what we wanted to do was mimic what is out there. So as you can see, the dash lines here represent pretty much the grade along the roadway, the center line grade, left and right sideline, typical of what we do on definitive plans. We started with the 5.5%. It balloons to 7.85%, goes through a vertical curve in here, and then ends at about 3, almost 4% in the cul-de-sac. This all complies with the subdivision rules and regulations. As you can see in this profile view, our street drainage system with rims, inverts, pipe sizes, and the like through to this area here. Looking at the plan view. The plan view up in here shows the cul-de-sac ending here. What you see in this little view here, this is an inset that shows from this point onward. So from this point onward, what you see is the stormwater management basin. So the bottom of the basin is going to be planted with a wetland seed mix, and the back edge of the slope is going to be planted with a conservation mix. Tops of the berms are going to be loamed and seeded with a grass seed mix to allow for maintenance vehicles to travel along the top of the berm to maintain anything that needs to be maintained, be it the cleaning of any of the structures, maintenance of the structures, replacement of riprap, if that is the case. But what we wanted to do when we designed this basin is to provide for the wetland plant material in here to promote wildlife habitat migration through this area. As you folks know, in many of these stormwater basins, if you do them right, you can have bird communities or birds, flocking to the area and habitating in there, as well as bees. The down gradient slope we are proposing a transitional vegetation between the berm itself and the wooded area with a wildlife seed mix, or conservation seed mix. What we find with that is that also promotes honeybee activities. So I know that a number of folks have beehives and the like, and this is just a stopping spot for the bees as they migrate back home, to and from home. So basically that's it. In terms of the plant schedule, we are proposing some plants. We are limiting the amount of trees that we're removing from site. We do have in our layout material, our site prep plan, what is to be maintained and protected. and what is to be removed along the corridor of the roadway. Very few trees are going to be removed, and it would only be in the case where the tree is proposed within the layout of the travel way of the proposed roadway. What you see here are proposed street trees, shade trees along the tree corridor. In the middle here, we are proposing a specimen tree with a wildlife seed mix around the tree. The species of trees, we're looking at red oak and little leaf linden. We're looking at 9 red oak and 1 little leaf linden. As I was saying about, if I could just go back to Mr. Cohen, there is a portion of stone wall that comes through here, comes through the roadway. Now, we could have easily discarded that stone wall, but what we figured we would do, and this is solely up to Mr. Cohen, he could say, I don't want the wall along my entrance, but we figured we are realigning his driveway. We are going to have a portion of it paved back to here with the pavement ending here. There's going to be a gutter line in here. We figured that we owed it to Mr. Cohen, Mr. and Mrs. Cohen to frame out the driveway if he wants it, and then return it into the existing wall. If he doesn't want it, that's fine, but it's just a good faith gesture to him. The utilities that he currently has on site, as I said, are located still within this area here. They will continue to be utilized by Mr. Cohen. We will coordinate with Mr. Cohen because our utilities will be coming from a utility pole back in here. So there's an existing utility pole here. There's an existing pole here. As you can see at this location, we're gonna have to pull the pole back a couple feet away from the curb. So it's going to require restringing that overhead wire. We're going to transition that line to underground conduit that is going to feed the 3 lots around the cul-de-sac bulb, and again, feeding the 3 lots. So it's pretty basic. So in terms of utilities associated with the roadway, stormwater, underground electric, telephone, and cable. That's it. Private water, private sewer on the properties. And I think, Mr. Chairman, I may have covered it. I don't know if you folks have any questions. Oh, fire apparatus. So fire maneuvers, we took the town of Townsend's fire truck, modeled it using I'm sure you've heard of AutoTurn simulation software. We run Civil 3D. We have an add-on to Civil 3D which functions like AutoTurn, but rather than just having the horizontal limitations, it does allow for vertical changes in grade, so that if a vehicle approaches a site, comes off the roadway and takes on a steep grade coming up, you can tell if the vehicle's going to bottom out or not. So what you see here is in red are the tire treads. In green is the body overhang. So as the vehicle comes down the road, comes through here, makes its loop, you can see that the treads stay within the pavement and the body overhang swings out a little bit, swings back in. But you'll also see that we are proposing 2 light poles here and here, one at the entrance of Mr. Cohen's driveway, and then one at the end of the cul-de-sac. They're going to be night sky compliant, directing lighting downward. But as you can see in these instances, that the overhang of the vehicle does not clip the poles. So we like to, anytime we model these, we make sure that anything that's beyond the edge of pavement is free and clear of the overhang of the vehicle. That's basically it for the presentation, Mr. Chairman. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Wayne. I think I would like to open up to board member questions. I think one of the unique things about tonight is the peer review, or the nature of the peer review. And David, I see that you're on. I know we have an agenda item for 3.1 to discuss specifically that, but
yes,
I guess, David, I don't know if you're prepared to talk at all about this, or if we're going to be talking to you later about the nature of you reaching the end of your budget. But I guess I'd like to maybe even open it up to you, Wayne. Have you had a chance to review the peer review document? Do you have any comments, or and potentially open it up to you, David, as well, to comment on that for the board?
So, Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate that, and I know that I've spoken enough, probably too much for anybody on your board or David or the audience. I was going to ask you about that to see if we could move that item, respectfully move that to here so that we could touch on that. I do have with me David Plunkett, who represents the client, and I have reached out to the client. I've yet to hear back from the client about the approval of the second portion of the budget. I did have so if David is prepared to weigh in on that, I will defer to David. David, is that something, have you spoken with the group at Belvedere on this, or is this something we need to circle back to the board with?
David, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No
we'd
problem.
have to circle back to the board on that matter.
Okay. Thank you, David. So with that, Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, if I'd had an opportunity to review David's peer review letter, I did. Quite honestly, I didn't see anything that was a deal killer. I think there's a lot of information in there that I didn't get into too much the stormwater. I just briefly looked at everything, but like I said, on the surface, it didn't look like anything was a deal killer per se. He did weigh in on a couple of the waivers. He did weigh in on things as basic as sheet numbering. We have a certain protocol for sheet numbering, but the town does have their own protocol. We follow the AIA standards, which are the national standards. So anything that's survey related is prefaced with a V, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner here. And that is basically the basis. And it's and Mr. Chairman, we have, so because of the types of projects we do, everything from, subdivisions to site plans, institutional, a number of colleges we work for, because it's typically part of a set of drawings that includes mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, architects, structurals, and the like, it's designated by this. But if the board is fine with this, we would seek a waiver to it to keep it this way. If the board would prefer us to go to the naming convention required by the town, which, if I recall, David called out as perhaps something like this would be like 1 of 17 or whatever the number is, we would be happy to do that. It just requires a little bit of cross-referencing because some of our notes do reference the different sheets by the nomenclature that we've established. So for instance here, well, no, this one doesn't show, but we do reference certain sheets, but it's not a deal killer for us to change it. I mean, if this is something quite honestly, it's a little inconvenient, but something that we could certainly do if this is something that the board feels strongly about. But like I said, I looked at it, cursory look. I didn't see anything that made me want to cry and stop my feet.
Sure. Okay. So my mistake, I recognize we have two Davids, and David from Hoyle Tanner, would you mind? I know, your time is somewhat limited in this capacity because you've reached the end of your budget, but do you mind just commenting on what you put together or where you're at and why for the board?
Sure. I guess I'm wondering which thing you'd like me to answer. Are you asking me to answer?
I guess it depends what you're willing to answer, because you're at the end of your budget, and if you're going to be billing, then you might as well tell us why you're at the end of your budget. And if you'd like, you can talk to us about the product you submitted. But I believe we'll be waiting on. I would expect a response from the applicant about their position on I don't know.
Yeah.
Additional.
Okay. So yes, the reason why I'm at the end of my budget is because as you've seen by the comments that were submitted and that Wayne has reviewed or has taken a look at, we generated about 13 pages of comments, which is roughly around, counting for the sub comments we had within there, about 70 comments in general. Several of those, as Wayne alluded to, are can be minor comments, just things that we pointed out that were reviewed don't line up with what the planning board is looking for within the bylaws, the rules and regulations. They can be minor changes. Some of them are a bit more involved than that, such as we had questions with regard to some of the alignments. There were some alignment questions. There were some drainage questions. My apologies. I have my screen, everything's up on my adjacent screen here. Several questions relative to the amended stormwater rules and regulations that were submitted or issued to both parties on March 30th that had come out as of February 23rd. We reviewed and found that there were some calculations and drawings and plans missing that were required by that. So those are some of the things that we're anticipating we're going to need to review in the future because there'll be calculations that need to be reviewed. There'll be drawings that need to be reviewed. I have been preparing an itemized list as requested by the board from your planning board meeting on the 4th addressing these items. And so that's the reason why we've come to the end of our budget on this, is because of the amount of comments that were put in there. As everyone here understands, this project has some life to it, right? It's been around for quite some time. There was a lot to delve into, and there were a lot of comments issued back from the 2022 submission, and digging into those to try and figure out, okay, what's been applied, what hasn't been applied, where do things stand, and what needs clarification is what generated such a long list of comments. Typically what we get is from when we do our peer reviews, when we submit our comments back to the applicant, we get a response in line, what we call it. So they would go through and look at each one and say, we're going to request a waiver for this, or we can change this, or we'd prefer not to, as Wayne was saying, with the numbering, provided that the board is amenable to it, or we will provide the calculations or drawings or whatever things, additional information. So we also anticipate potentially a meeting with the applicant and their engineer, with Wayne, to discuss some of the comments that we had in there, whether or not some of these are things that are feasible. Again, this is a different community, so I'm not sure what your preference is with that. Some communities allow the engineers to speak independently with each other. Others prefer that everything happen within the planning board format. So whatever is your preference, we wanted to make sure that we put together a proposal for the additional work that encompass that, and there is room, of course. We anticipated 2 additional meetings, 2 additional reviews. If we don't use the budget, then the budget, whatever's left over, does go back to the applicant. We wanted to make sure that we had room for additional meetings, both with the applicant and with this board, and to address the several comments that we had, some of which, as I said, involve additional calculations we haven't received yet, and additional plan sheets that we've requested. One of the big questions we had that we're looking for additional plan sheets for is the vicinity plan, I believe, and I'm not sure if it was the locus plan or additional plan that kind of shows more of the area. There's a lot going on in this area. We realize there's a lot of abutters that have concerns. We figure the more detail you can provide, the better, to show here's what's happening in this area. Another main concern is the whether or not this is a public or private way. That still hasn't been clarified to us, and there's going to be different requirements if it's anticipated that this extension be turned over to become a public way. Obviously, we need to review it with a more critical eye, because that section of the road would eventually belong to the town of Townsend, and so we need to apply a different level of scrutiny towards it becoming a public way versus a private way. And so these are some of the reasons, or the majority of the reasons, why we're requesting the additional funds to continue to review this application as it moves forward.
So, David from Hoyle and Tanner, I know at our previous meeting, some of the board members had questions specifically about the budget. I'm not sure if some of their questions have been answered but I'd like to open it up to the board members for questions to either the applicant or to Hoyle and Tanner. If you guys have some.
My concerns were, there was a request for proposal with the scope of services that was provided to all the potential bidders here. And so I did not prepare that scope of services in that request. But typically, when there are public funds involved, the invitation for bid and the bid submission is strictly limited to what's expressly shown in the scope. So it would seem that if things are not identified in that original scope, they can be viewed as additional services and beyond the scope that was requested. However, in most of these, there is some provisions for that kind of thing. And again, I'm not the one that prepared those documents and be able to answer this stuff, but I think that normally the bidders submit some kind of rate schedule or some kind of unit pricing kind of format to address or specific clauses for additional services. So in thinking of this project in the budget, I think this board anticipated that we had an adequate budget to do this project. So I don't know how to respond to this right now, because until we take a further look at what would have been anticipated or what was specifically in the scope of services, I don't know how much that we should, I don't know where we are with it, is my point.
If I may, it's my understanding that this isn't a publicly funded project, it's a private project where the applicant is paying for the costs, and therefore it's in the applicant's best interest to provide a great amount of detail within their plans. And if their plans generate a lot of questions, then that generates more work for my team to review. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't believe there's any public funds involved with this process.
No, you're correct. I'm sorry, I misdirected you.
Carol asked a gentle question while you were finishing yours about if we want to continue this discussion on this subject, I believe.
No. Didn't we just want to stick to the division?
Well,
I think so, but in the sense that it's intertwined in terms of the
applicant,
we won't have an answer from the applicant whether they're willing to fund it or not.
Right.
So I do think it's related in that sense. I think
we have to look at that.
Particulars, certainly order-wise in our agenda, it was mentioned for afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's not going to be an answer that's, I think, solved tonight. So I'd like at some point to continue on to just general board questions on the proposal. And then,
if we don't, Mr. Chairman, what we'd like to do is, and I'm sorry, but just to kind of expedite this process, if David from my team could reach out, discuss with Belvedere perhaps tomorrow, David, see what their thoughts are, and then we can get back to Beth ASAP with an answer. Does that work for you folks?
I have no issue.
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of the holdup. I think on our end, I think we, as a planning board, would want to either have a complete peer review or make sure that.
This is a very complex site, and we really do need a comprehensive peer review.
Yeah, let me clarify that we have provided a comprehensive peer review to this point, and we're requesting fund. We have budget for what we've billed today. We've actually overbilled, but we're not going to charge you for some of the learning curve that we had on our end. However, aside from that, looking forward with the amount of information we still have requested and forecasting the amount of time we're going to spend reviewing that additional information, that's where we stand now. There's more information that we need, which means more review on our part, and so that's what we're requesting.
I'm summarizing this. The budget that you had initially accomplished everything that we needed. So your concern is about future needs for things that are yet to develop or occur.
Yes, based on some of the information that we still need that has not been submitted yet by the applicant that we must also review.
Okay.
Mr. Plunkett, it looked like you were preparing to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on Wayne's question, certainly I can discuss with the applicant tomorrow and ask Wayne to send over the summary of what is being proposed. My suggestion would be, though, I think earlier on in the presentation, there was a question relative to the engineers being able to discuss things directly with each other. I think certainly if they're, at this point, if we were able to have a question relative to, further clarification of the basis of the budgetary, additional budget, I think it might be very helpful to have Wayne deal directly with David, with questions, and I think engineer to engineer might be a very direct route of clarifying the basis of this budgetary, extension or increase, and then be able to come to an amicable solution so that this project moves on, this proposal moves on for a final resolution. So certainly we want this as soon as possible. I would request the board to authorize the two engineers to discuss this so that we can come to an understanding between the two of them.
I saw different head shakings amongst the board. Maybe very briefly.
I agree with that.
I think that's more of a client relationship than ours.
Yeah.
Technically, Hoyle and Tanner is our client.
Right, they're our client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think everything's got to go through us. That's the way I personally feel, because they're our client.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
If we could as well, I think part of the what would also help. I know there was some discussion about communicating, to work through some of these items. If it would be possible to have some dialogue and perhaps, a Zoom meeting, perhaps with Hoyle Tanner, LDC, and Beth. If the town's rep, your peer reviewer, and our client's rep, LDC, hit on the different. If we went through the peer review list, I think that, and we do it all the time. We do peer reviews for different communities as well, and we always work with the applicant's engineer to kind of expedite that process. I sit on a board. I know David sits on a board in his town. He and I spoke about how long we've been serving our communities. It is a thankless job, so we appreciate what you folks do. It is time consuming. So if there's anything that we can do, Hoyle Tanner, LDC, and Beth, to relieve some of the work of the board, that would be great. And I think that would, in terms of, David's review and the budget, I think it just streamlines it. You can knock off a lot of these questions. I know there was something about benchmarks or something on the plan, that it required 2 benchmarks on the plan. There are 2 benchmarks on the plan. So things like that. And we do the same thing. So it's not a poor reflection on Dave's team. We do the same thing. You're looking at so much information that something like a couple little benchmarks, you don't pick up. You know, so I think if we could have some dialogue with him through Beth, that would be ideal if the board would entertain that.
Sure, thank you. So let's just circle the board real quick.
That's a good recommendation.
No, I think the board should be involved. I mean, you know, we want to talk about two benchmarks. Two benchmarks aren't shown in the plan. Well, I don't see anything about, he mentioned the fire truck, like, no, I think the board's got to be involved in everything. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. So we got two for board full involvement. Any changes with Carol and?
Yeah, I'll go along with the full board involvement.
Okay,
It makes
I think
sense.
so.
It does make sense.
I'll
okay,
agree with the group.
okay, all right. Well, that's
you.
the majority there. So, I think in interest of that, you know, I think the holdup here will be the funding for the peer review and getting the peer review finished. So, you know, originally I kind of wanted to be able to get some public comment in and get more questions on the board on the matter, but I think because of the time and I think where we're at, I think it probably just makes sense to postpone the rest of the public hearing to our next subsequent meeting.
Mr. Chairman, when would that be?
When would that be? That's a great question.
June 8th, I think, is the next one.
Our next scheduled meeting is June 8th.
Yeah, I won't be able to attend on June 8th, so I would really use the opportunity to give my comments then.
Okay. I don't have an objective problem. I'd like to, we have other business in front of us as well, so I'd like to keep it relatively brief, but I'd be happy to, you know, does that, well, first start, does any board member have anything they wish to say on the project or questions right now?
In summary, I think the site was very challenging. I think the engineering that's been provided is very sophisticated and addresses a lot of very specific concerns that are not typical. And I think the consultant did a comprehensive job from what I can see and addressing a lot of peripheral topics that normally you're not even thought of. It's, you know, like the telephone pole for the fire truck and controlling the velocity of the water, correcting the conditions that are there now that are not good.
37 pages.
Right. Public comments kind of.
Anyway, I think you did a good job on the
Anybody else
engineering.
quickly before we open it up?
No, go ahead.
Okay, please.
Hi, thank you. This is John Messina. I'm in butter. I did submit written comments. I hope that you all had a chance to read those. I just want to.
I'm sorry, can I ask his name again?
My name is John Messina,
Okay, thank you.
41 Cedar
I just
Road.
didn't hear it.
And yeah, so I would like to, I mean, from my perspective, our perspective, I think I can, you know, I think most of the people here are going to agree with me. We start by looking at the rules of the subdivision law. And this proposal directly violates several specific laws in the subdivision control law. Dead-end streets will not be permitted. The whole subdivision is a dead-end street. More than one access street for entrance and exit into the front of the subdivision shall be provided. Well, there are not more than one entrance, right? There's only one way in and one way out. So that's another rule directly violated. Streets shall be designed so that there are at least two non-intersecting paths out of the subdivision from any point on any street in the subdivision. Another rule directly violated. Wayne had mentioned the reservation strip, because there is a rule that says streets may not be laid out to provide frontage or access to land that is not part of the subdivision, which this road would. So he puts in the subdivision, he put the reservation strip to prevent that. But there's another rule that says the board will not approve plans having so-called reservation strips. So you break the rule with the strip or you break the rule without the strip. Either way, you're breaking a rule. There's a whole slew of rules that are being directly violated. And these aren't just like details and aesthetic elements. These rules provide the fundamental definition of what qualifies as a subdivision. A subdivision is multiple streets coming off a public way, intersecting with each other, combining with each other. Maybe there's other streets, they all intersect with each other. There's multiple ways in and out. That's a subdivision. What a subdivision is not is one road, one dead-end road going out into the woods with a loop at the end.
If that qualifies as a subdivision, every property in town gets subdivided just by extending their driveway. Oh, I got 13.8 acres on 41 Cedar Road. I extend my driveway, I can put up 5 more houses. Right? Every other property could do it. There's hundreds of properties in town that are more than 4 acres. Every single one of them could just extend their driveway and all of a sudden you got a subdivision. Right? That's why these rules, the whole intent, we're talking about, does it violate the intent of the subdivision control act? The entire intent is to prohibit that exact scenario. Right? You can't say you're not violating the intent of the rule. The intent of the rule is specifically to prevent this. Right? So that's based on the rules. So now look at it another way. Look at prior decisions that we made, because I know you do that.
There's some distinctions between policies, rules, and bylaws.
Robert, just briefly, this is gonna be a little bit longer than just tonight.
That's okay. You know, I just want to tell everybody here, anything that you want to express, you can provide us in writing too.
I did.
He did.
We have that.
We have it.
But again, I just would appreciate the opportunity to present in person.
Please continue.
Yeah, okay, so sorry. I mean, so the other way you look at it is prior decisions, right? Because I know when you're evaluating each application, you look at, well, what have we done before? Somebody presented a similar proposal before, what did we do? Did we deny it? Did we accept it? Did we impose conditions? Well, it just so happens there were multiple prior decisions for this exact piece of property that are directly relevant here. The first one being, how did Cedar Road get to be abandoned in the first place? And when you mentioned, well, if only the town hadn't abandoned the road, these could be A&R lots. The whole reason the town abandoned the road is because it didn't want development down at the end of this dead-end road. Cedar Road was not a dead-end road. Originally, it went through into Lunenburg down to Hickory Lake where it combined with other streets. Lunenburg abandoned the road on their side. Suddenly, Townsend was left with a dead-end road ending at the town line. That was like half a mile long. Well, the town realized, we don't like that. We don't want that. We don't want dead-end roads, long dead-end roads. So they voted, by town vote, to chop off the road. And where did they chop it off? They chopped it off as far as they could at the driveway of the last house. They couldn't chop it off farther than that. They would have, they would have stranded the house. So they chopped it off as short as they could. And by doing that, the town clearly was stating its intent. We don't want any development past this point on this, down here past this end of this road. We don't want that. That was the town, that was why they abandoned the road. Exactly. So, and then but that's one. Another one, the same proposal was submitted in 1989 to extend the road and put up 3 houses. Same exact proposal. That proposal was summarily denied by the planning board in 1989. If I could just read a couple of the comments, right? No clear public interest can be discerned to justify specific waivers. Proposed project is not consistent with the intent of the subdivision control law. Those are the comments that were made in 1989 by the planning board in denying the plan. Well, the plan was again submitted by a different applicant after the land was sold for $1. I think that's notable. The land developers who tried to develop in 1989 were denied. They ended up selling the land for $1 because they knew it could be developed. They sold it to Mass Ave Land Development, aka Mr. Daniel Gardner, the previous applicant. He submits a plan, and in 2020, the planning board denies that plan for all the same reasons. It was the exact same plan: extend the road, put up 3 houses. And the planning board in 2020 comments, the plan is neither in the public interest nor consistent with the intent and purpose of the subdivision control law. Those are the findings of the planning board in 2020. Nothing has changed since then. Nothing. The same rules are in effect. There's nothing has changed. So there's no reason to overturn these 3 decisions. One, by the town vote declaring we don't want any development past this point and abandoning the road in the first place. And then 2 planning board decisions to deny the effectively identical plan. So, and then the third thing I would point to quickly is the interest of the town, what's in the public interest. Clearly, it's well established that people of Townsend appreciate the rural character in this town. We revere, we cherish the rural character in this town. It's the heart and soul of this town. And the last thing the town wants is to lose that. And I would just quickly read the most poignant, most relevant comment in the entire Townsend Master Plan. My opinion is the community perceives a threat to the town's rural nature and qualities due to residential sprawl. This proposal is exactly the threat that is being referenced here. Again, you allow this, every property in town can just extend their driveway, put up 3 or 4 houses, and the whole town would be, the rural character of the town would be decimated. So my view is, I beseech the board, I beg you, I implore you, enforce the rules, follow the prior precedents, serve the public interest, and just say no to this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We do have your letter, and we do have 3 other letters from residents on Seaver Road or abutters. I think they're in our folders and files. I believe it's possible they were shared with the applicant as well. Being that we don't have complete information and we do plan to continue the public hearing, I want to be mindful of time. Does anybody else wish to have I'm going to try to limit it to like a minute or 2. Any brief comments tonight?
Mr. Chair, may I make a procedural comment?
Sure.
Not on the substance. My name's Michael Seekman. I'm the son-in-law of Donna Milligan, and a butter at 40 Sanderson Road. This meeting and the previous meeting, the abutter notices were not received by the abutters, and going forward, I'd suggest that you need to do that.
Nor was it done for conservation.
We'd have to look into that. I'm not aware, but I appreciate you letting us know. I think we certainly wish for that to be the case, but I'm not sure the particulars as to.
No one was notified for conservation, and several were, but not everyone.
Can't speak to conservation for this. I appreciate. I don't know.
Just being clear.
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate your desire. I think it's also legally required.
Sure. Beth, would you mind being able to look into that or work with the applicant to figure out what may have happened there on the planning board side?
Is this an abutter who said they did not receive?
Yeah.
Legal notice.
Site.
That's 2 of us.
It's
3 of us.
That was sent certified mail, return receipt. So
Then you don't have a
the
return
certified
receipt.
abutters list was generated by both towns, and I have the certified abutters list. I can share it with you. There was Lunenburg abutters and.
Simply show us the return receipt.
I don't. Would you be able to pull the receipts or the list if you have them?
Everything.
Maybe you guys can connect with Beth for contact information and she can share with you what we have. And maybe we can look at it too in their next board portal just to make sure.
Yeah, so they must not have been on the abutters list.
Okay.
Can I just ask a brief procedural question along
Sure.
the lines of that? You were mentioning a site visit that you went on
The
along
board
with.
was invited on.
Right. I'm kind of curious why the abutters weren't invited to go along for a site visit with you, so we're all hearing the same information and seeing the same thing. It seems odd that we sat for 45 minutes while they were talking about bushes along a fence line and having a site visit, but you're talking about 3 houses, which arguably could be bigger than they're saying they're going to be, you know, on a subdivision that's arguably not legal. It's just a little funny to me because I think we're hearing things differently than you're hearing from the people proposing this project. So I guess I don't understand why there wouldn't be joint.
Let me try to answer that for you. This public meeting was, so when this board goes on a site visit, we can't discuss it amongst ourselves or with the neighbors. It was strictly an observation for us individually to see what's going on and to individually ask questions. So it was not anything trying to conceal this from the public or anything.
Right, I'm not saying it's trying to conceal, I just think that there's a lot of confusion.
Sure.
And that it might, you know, if there is a site visit, presumably they're doing this in good faith and spending a lot of money on a drainage project for 2 houses, which is what we were told there may be 3 houses. So it just seems like it would save you guys a lot of time, since this apparently has been going on for years and years and years. If this is legal and you do decide to let it go on, to have a visit where you're hearing the same thing that the abutters are hearing. And
Sure. I think just to answer your question to the best of my knowledge, I'd have to check our bylaws or defer to that. I think typically the public is normally not included on site visits. Is that correct, Beth, in your experience with it?
It's not a public meeting.
no, I understand that sometimes they do let them have the abutters come.
And if it were, we have to publish it and everything else, so.
Okay, so because we are continuing, I'd like to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for till June 8th.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to June 8th, 2026.
Second, like your roll call vote.
Cindy King, yes.
Carol Houses, yes.
Brett King, yes.
Robert Duran, yes.
And Andrew Shepherd, yes. I'd like to,
So you continue, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
continue the public hearing till,
June 8th.
June 8th.
With the understanding that that the peer review consultants they can't go forward without your approval of the amendment. So
We need to get, in my mind, what we're waiting on is Mr. Plunkett communicating with his applicant, and the board was wished to be included in the process. So unfortunately, that would be waiting until then.
2 to 6 or 8.
Is there any sense in going forward if the peer review is not done?
So you're continuing hearing, but you're not going to have a resolution on peer review, right?
Correct. I think at that hearing, we hope to have an answer from the applicant on the peer review.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Yeah, we discussed that, if I recall, as part of the discussion earlier, that the board was willing to allow David and myself to discuss his peer review, and then we would circle back to Beth right after that. Is that correct? Am I misunderstanding that?
I know that's how it came up, but the board shortly after expressed an opinion that they wish to be included in the process.
Okay.
So that means, yeah, board approval before anything else, before the board's consultant can be engaged.
So we'll wait to hear from you guys, and then hopefully on June 8th we can get them going and finish out the peer review or the back and forth side of things.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a question for clarification of a what-if scenario. If the applicant, my assumption is that there's a budgetary request, there's a request for a budget extension. If the applicant were to agree to that, would it be possible then for the consultant to then move forward with the analysis without waiting until June 8th for the board to say, okay, go ahead?
Yeah, that's essentially.
Yeah, so I think it sounds like the board is open and willing. If you guys can come back and say yes, then I think
continue on.
Could continue on. And I think in that case, is the board okay with the engineer and the applicant doing a little bit, or responding to the feedback and then having the engineer respond back? Or
I think if it's that easy, I think it'd be as simple as, yeah, we agree to the price. They're gonna tell Beth, yeah, we agree, we're gonna fund it, and we're gonna continue on with the peer review and get a full peer review.
Okay. Because we do have
Mr. Chairman, in an effort to not take up more of the board's time, so that we're not sitting here in September, what I think is, so we still have to respond to the comments that Hoyle and Tanner has raised. So I think as part of that, as we're having that dialogue amongst our group, we could jump on the peer review comments, start to make the plan modifications so that we can hopefully, and if this works for David at Hoyle Tanner, that this could work out well, where we get the plans back to Hoyle Tanner. They have, let's say if the client approves the budget extension, ideally, we'd like to be in a position where Hoyle Tanner responds to our edits so that they could be before the board on the 8th after having performed their second peer review. Again, I don't know what their schedule looks like. I'll have to take a look at ours, but in a perfect world, that would be great. But it's all subject to, again, what the client agrees to and how quickly Hoyle Tanner can respond to our response to their comments.
Sure. Open it up to the board.
You just have to be very clear on on their response and how it was handled in here. So, you know, because now we're talking about two different things. We're gonna get new comments in, but yet we already have comments here. So how are we gonna address the comments that we already have? I mean, they're
Typically,
gonna
what, if I may, typically what I've seen in other communities is the LDC would respond to the comments that would be issued through Beth. So Beth would receive the comments and Hoyle Tanner would be CC'd on those.
Yep.
That way Beth would be able to distribute those to the board members and they can see LDC's response.
Yep.
And then similar to what happened in the first review, we would engage in reviewing their comments, whatever additional sheets, everything that LDC would be submitting on behalf of the applicant would first go through Beth so that the board would be able to see these are the comments that were responded to, these are the additional drawings that were sent back, and then those can be distributed to the public as is allowed, whatever is allowed by the bylaws and rules and regulations. So everyone would see LDC's comments, whatever sheets they added, whatever calculations they submitted, and then Hoyle Tanner would take those, perform the second review, and then similar to this one, we would issue our response letter with any additional comments we may have or approval or what have you. And that would again go back through Beth, and she could again distribute that to your folders, into the public as needed, and back to LDC. And as Wayne said, the optimal situation would be that both our schedules would allow us to accomplish this before the June 8th meeting, so that when June 8th came, the comment list would be shrunk. There would be a list that addresses whatever comments were on there, and any additional documents that were requested and or required would either be issued at that time or there'd be language in there as to why LDC felt they wouldn't be necessary.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
The board,
I think it's probably worth considering, because at the next meeting, the abutters will be here again and we'll have less for them to deal with. We'll have a lot of
Yeah, it
answers.
seems like we'd have a meeting just to settle whether or not the funding is going to be there, and then
Right,
we're going to be really set back a month if we
right. So I think
don't
we
allow them to.
try to encourage this to move along as fast.
the proposal from the applicant would basically be that they go back and forth between Beth and hopefully get Beth is the middle person.
Right.
All the communication would be listed in our portal, so we'd be able to see the response to the first set of comments. We could see, if the schedule allows, Hoyle and Tanner David's response back, and then potentially even the applicant's response to that.
It's worth trying.
I like that.
What would be the time frame to get a full peer review? That'd be my question. Like for him to finish up the first deliverable, you know, we have 13, what do we have for pages? 13 pages, like what?
I think technically, David from Hoyle and Tanner, that is his first deliverable, but he has a list of questions. If your first deliverable means all the answers to those questions?
No, I just, is this first go round complete? It sounds like he ran out of money before he even completed reviewing the plans in front of us.
No, that's incorrect. I completed the review of all the plans in front of you, and I'm anticipating additional review because of the documents and calculations that we've requested, information that was missing in this first review.
There's more questions to be answered.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. There's more questions to be answered.
Are we okay with the back and forth between the applicant, Beth, the engineer?
Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
Okay.
Yes.
But I do think you need to vote to approve the amendment or some sort of piece of the amendment. If you don't want to approve the whole amount, which is $5,000 some dollars, maybe you want to approve part of it. It's up to you, you know, but you have to make the decision on what you want for peer review services. I can't do that as the in-between, so.
So
we have to vote, because isn't it up to the applicant to decide whether he wants to pay the additional $5,000?
It's the planning board's decision. It's completely your decision.
So I think we're,
Okay.
in my mind, willing to work with the applicant on the fees and such. But I think, you know, if the applicant doesn't want to pay it, I think we have concerns about the completeness of the documents and our ability to review it.
That's right.
So it's it could be one-sided, but I think we're just trying to be accommodating.
We'd be handicapped to make a decision without the consultant.
We need an extensive peer review. We can't.
Yeah.
So,
So also you could approve the amendment, vote to approve the amendment, like he said, if he doesn't use the money, it goes back to the applicant.
Okay.
I would think err on the side of just approving the amendment. That's my suggestion, because otherwise on June 8th, you're just gonna,
Yeah.
I can't do anything. Our consultant is out of money, so I can't really be going back and forth at this point.
That's just a matter of form. Can we approve that 3.1 in the public hearing, or do we have to end the public hearing and then
You
do?
can do that right now.
Okay,
So moved.
okay, so a motion
Point
to,
of order, please.
yes, Mr. Plunkett.
So again, is this approval subject to the right of the applicant to request further determination on the number on June 8th if the amount isn't agreed upon? Just trying to preserve rights. Not that I know that that's going to happen, but I just don't want a situation where if the applicant has an appropriate question, where it's over and above the original budget, that he wouldn't be able to bring that up on the June 8th hearing. My hope is that that's not going to be the issue, and it's going to be, that it'll be approved, and then we'll be moving forward. So just a question whether the approval of the amendment would be subject to further review on June 8th, if in fact the applicant wasn't in agreement with the number.
No. My opinion is no. We need a full peer review, regardless of what it takes. Hoyle and Tanner has given us a price. They've given us a budget, a new budget, and
we need a full, this is a comprehensive project.
I'm gonna ask this question based on the gentleman's comments there about the subdivision being denied several times in the past based on a number of bylaws. So what makes it okay now where it wasn't okay in the past? Did our bylaws change?
So I believe,
Mr. Chairman, just, that was just a comment from, and certainly any butter or anyone at the meeting has a right to make comments, but that in and of itself doesn't negate the fact that this is a new proposal. This is the only proposal before the board. We're not seeking to overturn prior decisions. Prior decisions of the board would be overturned only by the taking of an appropriate appeal, which wasn't taken at that time. So this is, I would object to, for the board to adopt a position saying that this matter before the board isn't in fact a new application that has absolutely nothing to do with anything that is any previous application that they said was denied. This is separate. This is distinct, and in the appellate process would have been the process to follow.
Just one more point of note, Mr. Chairman.
sure, go ahead.
One more
Wayne.
point.
I'm
Mr.
trying to
Chairman.
be pretty accommodating to all the comments, but as it gets later, I have less appetite to be accommodating to all comments. So go ahead, Wayne, and then we're gonna
I'm
make a
sorry,
vote.
but one more point of note. I started the presentation with this project falls on the heels of a preliminary plan approval for this plan. So that's how I started. So while there were past denials, we don't question that, okay?
Sure.
But the most recent action by the planning board was the approval of the preliminary plan, which set the stage for where we are today. Had we not had the preliminary plan approval, we wouldn't be here tonight. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. That's
I
correct.
will say as current chair of the planning board, I believe we are looking at this with fresh eyes as the application has come in. And not all of us have been on, this is fresh for many of us. So I'd like to entertain a motion. I believe the
I'll get a copy from you.
perspective amongst the board has been to hold fast with the recommended amount by Hoyle and Tanner. I believe there was a motion made. Is that correct?
Yeah, Cindy made a motion.
Cindy made a motion. I'll say
I second it.
Carol seconded. We've had thorough discussion. Just for the sake, Cindy, your motion, or maybe Beth is printing it, but what would be the correct wording there?
About the amendment. You had the words there.
For the record, do you want to be real specific on your motion?
Sure.
This is the amendment that you're approving, so you want to make sure you're referencing the right document.
Okay. So Cindy, would you mind making a motion to approve the recommended amendment?
Okay, I move that we approve the recommended admission, amendment to, provided by Hoyle Tanner's, okay, I've lost.
Oh, right there,
I'd reference
Seaver Road.
the title.
This-
Right
oh,
there,
okay, all right.
Right there it says.
I move that I move that we approve the, Seaver Road Extension Amendment 1 as provided by Hoyle Tanner.
Motion's been made,
And I'll second it.
seconded by Carol. Any more discussion from the board?
And that is to fund or have them fund the rest of the peer review, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to do a roll call vote clockwise.
Cindy King, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Brett King, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
And Andrew Shepherd, yes. So I'd now like to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until June 8th, 2026. Beth, do we need a specific time at this point?
Yes, 6:45 is good.
We'll do 6:45.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Cindy King, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Brett King, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr.
Much
Chairman, and
appreciated.
all the members of the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, so that,
Andrew,
yes,
could
Mr.
you
Ryan.
quickly ask the audience who did not get a green card on conservation? I'd like to follow up on that.
Anybody here get notified by conservation?
So I think being outside of the,
No butters got notified by
No one.
Jim, being outside of the public hearing, at least planning board matters, if you don't mind grabbing them outside the door or something, you know.
They mentioned it in the meeting, I just wanted to be able to understand what was mentioned again.
I gotcha. Okay, so we're at 2.3, which
May I ask
was
for a short recess?
a short recess. I've never had a recess before, but I'm sure we can. Is that required by vote or is that?
I think.
I think I'd get one.
Yeah, you get one, all right.
Motion to recess for 5
5
minutes?
minutes? Sure. I'll second that. I'll make the motion.
Any
Recess for
discussion?
5
Second.
minutes.
All
Yeah,
those in favor?
Do they have to
Yeah.
stop the
Okay.
recording? Yes,
Nice,
that's
okay,
okay.
everybody. So we're gonna be in recess for 5 minutes. If anyone needs to utilize the facilities, I suppose grab dinner or call your family and tell them it's running late.
Grab dinner, it's cooked dinner.
Yeah.
Grab dinner. Too late for
I
that.
go home and have dinner.
Public hearing at 9:09. And we'll start 2.3, which is planned for 7:30 PM. I will be recusing myself, so I will leave. Someone can come grab me and I'll defer to you guys.
All right. Good evening, this is Carol Hofstas, Vice Chair of the Planning Board, and I'd like to open the public hearing for Three Wheeler Road. I'd like to introduce the board members.
Cindy King?
Brett King?
Robert Theron,
Well, you've already signed the public sign-in sheet. There's a sign-in sheet if you haven't already done that. And do you have a legal notice there for 2.3?
No.
Oh, you don't have to read it.
We don't have to read it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, basically, this is an update from Kieran, the interim town administrator. He's been working with the, applicant. So, he wasn't able to attend tonight's meeting, but the landowner has paid $1,800, to start the peer review. So basically, we're going to continue the hearing to June 8th so that they have time for, to get us the information.
Complete agreement. That's all there is over here.
Okay. So if there's no other comments, could I close the public hearing?
No, you will continue it.
Oh, you continue it, okay.
Yes.
Because you're gonna get peer review comments and
Continue
then the same
it
thing.
to,
He's gonna
continue
respond.
it to
Continue
June
it,
8th, and we'll get the peer review comments.
I make a motion, we can continue this to our next meeting? Or till
June
when
June
the,
8th.
June
June 8th,
What do you go for? So it's 7:30 again? Probably.
What was the other one was 6:45? 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay, 7:30.
I don't think Cedar Road will be over by then.
I think it might be.
Well,
It'll be-
butters.
It'll be continued.
I don't know if
Probably.
I don't know if they'll all come back,
All right.
to tell you the truth.
I mean, there's a lot he's gotta, a different project, there's a lot he's gotta go through in the field here, so.
It goes over, it goes over.
Right.
You want a second?
Second.
Okay, so Cindy second.
Thank you.
So is that it?
All those in favor?
Oh, yeah, we gotta vote.
We need a vote.
Cindy King, yes.
Brett King, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
And Carol Hostas, yes.
Okay.
That was
Andrew
easy.
can come back.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're so late.
Thank you.
See you.
Good seeing you, Greg.
You want to go get Andrew?
I'll try to find him.
Okay, thank you.
Where are you guys?
Missed you.
Oh, wow, I don't hear that a lot.
Where you been?
I haven't seen you
I
in a
gotta be
while.
honest, I expected it to go, how long did the first one go? I thought I'd be outside for another hour. Okay, so we've done all our ones, we've done all the twos. Now we're in section 3, meeting business. We already took care of 3.1.
Yep.
So I'd like to, just for reference, 3.4 and 3.5, I'd like to push to the next meeting. So that, we've already done 3.7 and 3.8. So I think the last two, main points of business for us are 3.2 and 3.6, which is the 108 Fitchburg Road age restricted development draft deed restriction, and the Depot Street condominium age restricted development draft master deed for the Depot Street condominium. So I had pulled up we got some comments back from Adam Costa, I believe.
Yes, you did on the Depot Street
Specific to
one.
Depot. I believe that Depot has already recorded their deed, which I think we voted to approve. I think we were waiting on the 108 Fitchburg to see if because the bylaws have changed, whereas we are now allowed to waive a conservation restriction for the smaller projects where it's.
I thought that was the one that was for Depot Road.
Technically, it's for both. The Depot Road made an effort to include some level of language in their deed.
Oh, okay.
My impression, we don't have the minutes, but my impression was that we had approved the draft deed for Depot Road. Does anyone remember it differently? I don't. Yes, no, maybe? No recollection. So I think, and from talking briefly to Beth about what could we postpone for tonight in the interest of time, I don't want to speak, I guess I'll ask you, Beth, I think the thought was that even though we're now allowed to waive for new applications, the conservation restriction requirement, because this was a application under the old rules, which we were not allowed to, the presumption is we are not allowed to waive it. Is that your correct interpretation?
Yeah, legal.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that new rule
Legal road.
official now,
That's
or?
what the guidance is.
Yeah.
That's what Adam said, I think.
Yeah, I read Adam's email earlier, but I can't point to the language where he says one way or another. what to do, and at this time, I struggle to think that I'm going to find it.
What did he say in the last sentence? I think he said something. The very last sentence.
Is this,
I didn't
did he
get to
put,
read- I
where's
didn't get to
the,
read
his
it.
opinion? Is it under 108 or is it under the other one?
I think
It's under, what,
Depot
I think
Street.
it's under Depot Street,
3.6. It's called external, depot.
right at the top there,
condominium.
no, the back one.
Okay,
I just
See this
want a
little
clarification.
Yellow box?
right,
On 108.
it's late, I couldn't read that one, jeez.
No,
Okay.
wait a minute.
We
External,
yeah.
voted to waiver that conservation.
Here it is.
requirement.
I think
No.
108, we did not
You can't
vote
do that.
anything.
Yeah.
And I think on Depot Street, we
Yeah.
did vote to accept the draft deed because he had language
Right.
specific to that's my recollection from the last week's meeting.
And I didn't do the minute.
But that was waivers on specific projects, right?
I don't think that was technically a waiver because, Depot Street, because he had language for a conservation restriction, which was as required in his permit.
He did provide.
He had language for it.
He what?
He had language in his draft deed for a conservation restriction. He told us it was somewhat of creative language due to the limits in space.
Because it's a small parcel of land, you
Yeah.
got 5 buildings, so how much, I mean,
I think it's technically a restriction on the open space that's already there.
That one's done.
Correct.
yeah, so now you got the one up on Fitchburg Road.
Right. My only concern about that, I mean, we're hearing from the applicants how difficult that is to achieve, right?
Well, the new bylaw purposely allows us to waive it,
Oh, it does.
but the sticky whatever, I don't know, is that they had
Does the new bylaw have a size limitation on it?
I have absolutely no idea.
No,
Huh?
no, you didn't give specific. You just put in the right to waive it.
I don't
But it's
see,
still required.
You still have to waive it for each specific project.
Exactly, it's project specific. So if it's a little parcel, you can elect to waive it before you approve the
Well,
permit.
the only concern is that I have as an afterthought, Monday morning quarterback.
I know, right? Yeah, because if you put a
is-
size limit on it, yeah.
We rely on what the applicant says. And when you think of the applicant, he's anxious to get these things completed and so on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We never asked to validate that information on any of them. You know? Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah,
So I think in the future, we need to take a more responsible role in making sure that's really the circumstances and not an opinion.
This last, the last
Yeah,
sentence, doesn't it, it says if elimination of the conservation restriction requirement is desired, an amendment of the planning board's decision is necessary. So, to me, that sounds that we can.
An amendment
that we
to the
would amend-
bylaw, right?
No, amendment to the decision.
to the decision. Yep,
If an elimination of the conservation restriction requirement is desired, an amendment of the planning board's decision is necessary.
Oh,
Right, so they do a modification to their special permit, which is the process that we're doing for the solar array. It's the same process.
so they
So
have
they
to,
have two options. They produce the CR or they file for a modification to their special permit.
so that comes in the application.
Is that?
I think that's the way I read it, and I just.
Okay, because it sounds like, I mean, the word waiver was not used, but that seems
Yeah.
like the same
I think
thing.
That's the way I
But,
read it.
and as you explained, you explained the process to make that happen, but.
I think the point of order would be if we'd have the authority in this meeting tonight to waive it, opposed to advise the applicant to submit a application for modification
Yeah.
for which we would be opening, which I think has some maybe notification requirements and then a public hearing, I believe.
Common sense when you're doing a review.
So I think in that case, you know, for legal's advice, we probably either authorize Beth to reach out to the applicant and say you can either submit a draft deed with language that's in it, specific to the bylaws at the time of your application, or, you know, submit for a modification. And, you know, we can't promise anything, but I think everyone has expressed an openness to working with them.
And they provide some kind of rationale why they want relief.
I think so, and not to speak for them, but our last meeting, they just said there's not a lot of space here.
Yeah.
So how do we circle back
Trying
to
to
this?
do one is such a nightmare that it would be very difficult because of the space.
Yeah, I know there wasn't a lot of space back there.
How do we circle back to what Adam's comments on the deed restriction is?
Technically, Adams, I'm kind of confused or disappointed in the sense that I think Adam's comments are specific to the one that I thought we already voted to approve and accept. So that deed restriction is I think that's already been recorded for the Depot Road.
Yeah.
For Depot.
Yeah, the bylaws are already changed in terms of conservation restrictions, so we can waive it if we believe that the land mass is too small if someone's applying under that in the future. That's technically, you could look at it as fixed.
Well,
Yeah. So I don't know, Beth, would you know, or Brett, you haven't said anything, do you have any thoughts?
So we're just taking it all in.
Okay, perfect. So Beth, would you need a vote from us to let the applicant know of Fitchburg Road to either submit a deed with the restriction, some level of wording in it, or to submit a modification?
For which one?
For, yeah, no.
Fitchburg.
108.
108.
Well, that project was,
They will not, they will still need to do a conservation restriction, is that the question?
No, I think we're under the assumption where they've got two avenues of options. We're not in the position to waive it. So we can either say, because I think that's where we left, I feel like, based on the last meeting, that's where we left it with them.
Okay.
That we would try to have a decision here.
Yeah.
And I think the decision is essentially, because you applied under the old bylaws, legal has told us we're not allowed to waive it now. You can either submit a draft deed with the wording, appropriate wording for a conservation restriction, or you can submit for an modification to your application.
I think they actually have to provide the conservation restriction.
Well,
It's
Adam
not
said-
putting in the master deed. It has to be drawn up by legal, a conservation restriction is a legal document separate from the master deed.
But what
The
Adam
town
said
as
is
a whole.
if elimination of the conservation restriction requirement is desired, an amendment of the planning board's decision is necessary.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Adam's comment.
That's his last
on,
sentence, yeah.
that was on Depot Road.
right, on that one.
On both, so 108.
So wouldn't it be the same?
But I think what we're doing is, the master deed shouldn't have any conservation restriction in it as any
Right.
clause, because it's
Right.
a totally separate document.
Right.
So what Depot Street did is not, it does not cover their, responsibility for a conservation restriction, my understanding.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, so their two options are come back and modify, both of these applicants could do the same thing, because they're age-restricted developments.
Sure.
They can come back and ask for a modification of their special permit approval, taking that CR out. Board can decide whether they want it or not, or they can, provide the CR.
I guess I'm under the impression, because I think we already approved the Depot Road, because we already approved it, are they,
Oh, their master deed?
yeah.
Oh, that's a separate thing than the
Okay.
CR. Yeah,
Okay.
so don't worry
just
about
wanted
it.
to-
You didn't-
We
you
didn't
Yeah.
approve the
read-
deeds
yeah.
on any of those.
Yeah,
I thought
you didn't
we
meet the
did.
requirement.
Huh?
I thought we voted
thought we
to
did,
accept the
Yeah, I
the
think we
master
did.
deed.
Was that our last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah.
So that makes sense to send it to both of them to do the
Yeah.
modification of the permit.
Yep,
And then we most likely will approve
yep. So I think it seems like that's what our
decision.
options are. So I guess entertain a motion to authorize Beth to communicate with the applicants and recommend, submitting for modification.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second, all those, or roll call,
Cindy King, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Fred King, yes.
Robert Theron, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes. We could go into notices from other towns or boards, certificates and whatnot. I think I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would too.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.